Good evening, everyone, and welcome to episode 122 of Stat Check. Rumors of Deathwatch Demise have been greatly exaggerated. With joining me tonight is unfortunately not Innes because he is currently recovering from being very, very jet lagged. We've got Nathan here, and we've got a special guest tonight, our good friend Jack Harpster, all the way over from the Art of War.
Hi guys, it's been a while.
It has. I think it's been about 2 years to the date. Yeah.
Basically.
So yeah, let's fire it off. Nathan, how was your weekend?
I'll put down my coffee. Damn. I'm doing great. I am very troubled though because they told us that the Eldar pre-order window is starting on Saturday, and I was expecting that I was going to have like another week or two for some reason, and now I have no time, and my wallet is very sad. Other than that, I played another game of Warhammer 40k, and that was basically it. I don't know. LVO was over the weekend, but I had a bunch of random plans with not 40k stuff for the weekend, so I did those things instead.
Nice.
Unlike my two co-hosts and for this evening, who have much more to say probably about LVO and Warhammer 40k from this weekend.
Yeah, we'll definitely get into that in the meta discussion. Jack, how about you? How you doing?
Oh, didn't really get up to too much. Took a bit of travel for, just for my hobby, Warhammer. I went to a tournament called the Las Vegas Open in Las Vegas, Nevada. I don't know, did pretty good. Got like third or whatever with Blood Angels, and it was fun. It was a good time. I hung out with my friend Jeremy a bunch.
Nice. Yeah, I was also at that. We had the pleasure of being hosted by the wonderful Ben Urich, and that was the best way that you could spend a tournament. Ben has now spoiled a lot of us that were there because every single night after the tournament, or even on the night we got in, it was hot tub time.
Just getting in the hot tub, relaxing, living our best lives.
All those aches and pains just fading away.
Just like 6 dudes in a hot tub, What's wrong with that? There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with that.
It's still less homoerotic than your average 40k tournament.
How is it? It feels like it's about the same, but less homoerotic than WTC is, which is another step. But
true.
It's neither here nor there. I was mostly jealous of the Ben Jurek house, like trap house thing that you guys had going.
Yeah, no, it was great. At the house we had obviously Ben and Swect and Yell, and then we had Jack, myself, my buddy Dan from the Red Dragon, Innes Wilson, Nassim Puchain, and Nick Nanavati. We joked that there were at least one of us should finish in the top 8, and lo and behold, one of us finished in the top 8.
Woot woot.
Well, the rest of us hit either for most people, the round 5 filter, but in some people, the round 2 filter.
Why you gotta do Ness like that, man? Dude, you paired into Nemo, where Nemo's going second on what, Scorched Earth?
Yep.
What's it? In the mirror, where Nemo had, or Wesley, had more infantry, fewer tanks, which is better in the mirror. So
it was a cursed matchup, and I did feel a little sorry, but it was also very funny because those 2 guard players just deserved each other.
Yeah, I was definitely a little bit Schadenfreude going on there when I was watching their game, and I'm like, I was talking to Innes, and it's like, oh, how's the game going? Who's winning? And I'm like, point to a unit on this table and definitively tell me whose model it is. And he's like, I can't do that. I'm like, I have no idea what's happening.
Scions in every corner of the table.
Yeah.
All right. Shall we quickly go through the stats for the weekend or for the last couple weeks, and then drop into the event discussion in general?
Sure. Yeah. Let's do this. It'll be easy. I promise. I don't even have any surprises in it. I promise. I swear.
The only time I run into stats is when I make a claim and someone throws a stat at me to tell me I'm wrong. That's it. It's the only time I run into stats.
It's usually sourced from us as well. They're like, well, those guys over there, and then push up their glasses like nerds about it. That's what I really want to hear, Jack.
I'll take that as a compliment if they're always using us.
Yeah, they are. Everyone knows where to go for stats.
All right. Our number 1 by win rate, funnily enough, is now Necrons. Just for this last weekend, they were 7.2% of the meta. They had a 54.5% win rate. 2 event wins, 7 top 4s, and 12 top 10s for a 1.86 overrep. Feels so weird to not have something over 55%. So I guess we're capped out at there. I definitely don't have any secrets when I look at that. Chaos Demons are in.
You're breaking up a bit there, Nathan.
Yeah.
Oh shit! I don't know. Maybe it's so cold that the power lines and internet have finally also been slowed by the cold. All right. Back to what I was trying to do of Man Reads Spreadsheet 101 with notes. Chaos Demons had 60 players, 3.9% of the meta, 53.9% win rate, 2 event wins, 4 top 4s, 8 top 10s, and a 1.98 overrep. World Leaders are in 3rd place. Anthony doesn't come onto our show, and World Leaders suddenly doing great. 62 players, 4% of the meta, 53.5% win rate, 2 event wins, 4 top 4s, and 5 top 10s for a 1.92. In 4th place, Custodes, who will still complain that they weren't number 1. 101 players, 6.5% of the meta, 52.8% win rate, no event wins, but 3 top 4s, 10 top 10s, and a 0.88, indicating they're just fine, and you all need to stop complaining. And then finally, rounding up the top 5 is Astra Militarum, 81 players, 5.2% of the meta, a 52.8% win rate, 1 event win, 5 top 4s, 10 top 10s for a 1.84 overrep. Don't like how much the top 5's soaking up all the overrep, but, what can you do? And I did mention that I was going to briefly talk about how that Chaos Demons win rate was a mirage, and that's because Legion of Excess has all their event wins again this weekend and has a 66.5% win rate instead. Jeremy, you are muted in case you want to interject.
What? I was just going to say nice, but thank you.
Seems good.
Interestingly enough, there's no demon detachment below 45%. So
I think demons are just a broken army. I don't know what to tell you. If they're just too good, nerf them, please.
Clearly, everything's just too cheap.
They're just make them more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
I won't stop to 400.
Oh god.
I'm definitely waiting for them to just keep getting all of the event wins for Chaos Demons for the foreseeable future, just forever. That will be great. I would love that for everybody.
Demons
even
can
if
still
they
win. Just make sure you bring your keepers.
Exactly. And then Necrons are kind of broken down into like 2/3 Star Shatter Arsenal, and then a little bit of everything else. It's like 157 of 222 players are Star Shatter over the last couple of weeks with a 57.7% win rate. So that's where all of our 55s, our over 55% win rates are basically hidden inside of detachments. Because the same thing is true for Astra Militarum, Bridgehead Strike Force. Strangely enough, is only 57 out of 170. So only 1/3 of the people are playing the best detachment in that army, and it's got a 65.4% win rate.
Oh.
I don't know, folks. Maybe you should just play the good thing and stop trying to be special.
I wonder if it's just because they can't get the scions.
We will be coming back to this as how did LVO go, but teleporting shooting is very good. It's very strong. Always has been. So Bridgehead.
Also good.
Pretty good.
Because teleporting shooting units, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure
no, it's just good. It's just good. I maintain, by the way, that the teleport Necrons, the Hypercrypt, I think that's stronger than Star Shatter. I played both, and I had much harder time with teleports.
Yeah, Hypercrypt ship's been largely abandoned. I've noticed, like it's 4th in terms of popularity, so you just tend to not see as many players, and as a result, not as many good players playing it.
Monoliths are stupid.
Yeah, teleporting monoliths is still the dumbest thing ever.
It's got more players than Sisters does, though.
Wait, Hypercrypt has more players than Sisters as a whole?
This is the sum data, so it might not be true. 1 second. It's close, though. 1 second. Let's go back a week.
46 players for Sisters in your sum data. And
they've got
26 for Hypercrypt. Okay. All right. Let's calm down.
All right. No, I got excited for a moment because I wanted to make that feel real bad for a bunch of people, but I can't today. Oh, well. There are more Legion of Excess players, though, than there are Sisters players by themselves. So, there you go.
All the Sisters players were secretly Slaanesh players, clearly.
Probably not untrue. And then just for the Custodes folks, I broke this out because you too have a detachment that is over 55% win rate if you just look hard enough. But it is Solar Spearhead having finally overtook Talons of the Emperor as the winningest Custodes faction at 55.8%. Then if we go to the bottom 5, we have Sisters of Battle, who have dropped precipitously down to 21 players, which is 1.4% of the meta.
Oof.
We're looking at some Gene Stealer cult level numbers from before Gene Stealer cults were good.
Yeah,
And
or AdMech before their like 4th buff.
And a 40.6% win rate, you know.
Okay. They might have overnerfed that army.
Oh, they definitely did. Like the week before the slate hit, I looked at the numbers and Sisters were in the like 49 to 52 range, and I went, I really hope they don't do anything drastic like they suggested they would. And then they just go, nope.
Foul.
Yeah,
Did you like having a detachment roll, an army roll? No, you don't. Get out of here.
If you look at all the data since Pariah dropped, they have a single top 4 and 4 top 10s.
Oof, that is...
Which is the same number of top 4s as Imperial agents. I'm just going to keep finding painful nuggets.
Imperial agents probably has a higher win rate too.
They do.
What I'll also say is that there are a lot of people who are playing Sisters and doing really well with it. A lot of them weren't Sister specialists. There are a couple. There are a couple. Jeffrey Kolodner, Scott Ketchum come to mind, but I'm sure they're going to still do well with the army. But I do think
and they'll find a way to make the army work as it is. But they were also finding a way to make the army work as it was before the Codex.
Yes, they were, and I think they will continue to do so.
Just to highlight the complete switcheroo of trends, what do you want to guess is the current Bringers of Flame win rate?
Oh, please don't tell me it's sub 30.
No, I'm gonna like this. This is good. You give it to me. Give me straight, Doc. What is it?
It's 24%.
Yeah, let's go.
They're winning 1 in 4 games.
That is the sum data across
quite.
everything. Not even 1 in 4 games, Jeremy.
Pain.
That's the change of fortunes that I kind of expect from nerfing something repeatedly every slate until you get sick of it, and then you're like, fuck it, every nerf.
Yeah.
Now, that's not like good. That's not good.
No,
but
it's
I
not.
will say it feels good getting shot by those things like all the time to hear that stat one time.
Yeah. In reality, that should be in the 45 to 50 range. I don't want them popping back in the 50 to 55 range. Just 45 to 50 under the radar. Just make it so people feel like they could win.
Sure. In second from the bottom is Imperial Agents, who had 2 players.
Not real. Moving along.
Not a real faction, but they did win 43% of their games, which is 3% better than Sisters.
It is?
It's 2.3%. I rounded. But Tau are third from the bottom, 82 players, a 44.4% win rate. They have 3 top 10s. Neither Sisters nor Agents had a top 10 or a top 4 to their name.
Well, Jeremy had something to do with that, didn't he?
What do you mean? I lost to Glinister. I lost to Durante. He was a great opponent.
No. I mean, you may have slapped down a Tau player.
I don't know what you're talking about. There was no way that they were making the top 4.
I wasn't. Gotten past the sky's the limit. But he didn't.
You hit the dreaded round 3 filter.
Are fourth. It happens. It's better than the round 1 filter, though. That's the worst filter to get hit by.
Yeah. Shout out to Donald Plummer in the chat saying, let's go Tau. If I remember correctly, Donald won Best Painted at LVO this weekend.
Oh,
nice.
Well done.
Good job, Donald. Gene Stealer Colts are fourth from the bottom, 3.2% of the meta, 44.6% win rate.
Okay.
1 top 4 and 4 top 10s for 0.6 for overrep.
Sure. All right. Final Day might be the best army in the game. I don't want to hear. I'm okay. Moving on.
And then
how many of those were Final Day?
Oh, how many of them were Final Day? Let's go to it. We'll do that real quick. I don't care. I got this up. Gene Stealer Colt. This is in alphabetical order, so it should be easy. Final Day has a 57.2% win rate. 19
Pretty solid.
out of 91. So
they're like a quarter, a fifth.
Much better than
many of them at LVO from what I saw. Nick was playing it, and he had a very, very tight game into Josh Roberts. So anything can happen if you pair that, compare into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gene Stealer Colts for the weekend with that detachment in mind had Final Day was 11 players out of 49 with a 56.5% win rate.
Yeah, that sounds about right. It's a very strong detachment.
Much better than Brew Brothers Auxilia, which is at a 27 point.
We don't talk about Brew Brothers.
We don't talk about Brew Brothers Auxilia. All right, and then the true fifth from the bottom, because we don't want to actually count Imperial Agents as a real faction, is Drukhari. 32 players, 2.1% of the meta, a 45.2% win rate. No event wins, a top 4, 2 top 10s, and a 0.93 for overrep. So really just everything is just kind of sort of close to the in the windowness for that faction.
It's true. They only had one top 4,
there.
but they almost had 2. Drukhari just, Scary just couldn't quite get through that Ordo Xenos list.
Yeah, what's that like?
I don't know.
None of us would know that. Right, Jack?
Nope. Definitely don't know what being shot by big gray men in big power armors like.
Why are their heavy bolters damage 3?
Why? Why are they using damage 3? Why are they sustained and lethal? And then they have another bolter. I don't remember what it is.
All right. The other event winners from the weekend are Blood Angels, who managed to win an event. They had a 52.2% win rate for the weekend. Space Marines won 2 events with a 51.1% win rate, 5 top 4s and 14 top 10s. Grey Knights won an event for a 0.69 overrep. Good job, Grey Knights. And then Deathwatch won the largest event of the weekend, if I remember correctly. Is that the truth? Oh, yeah, man. It's kind of wild. Weird how that happens. Deathwatch come back, get revived fully by GW from death.
Oh, I remember roughly a week ago, this YouTube channel, it's called Art of War. They did a tier list, probably just, as a cheap money grab, but they did a tier list and they put Deathwatch in S tier, largely because of a very handsome man's insistence that they were very good.
So good you didn't prep for them.
Deathwatch.
So the
traders in my
problem is
I prepped for them.
The problem is finding a Deathwatch
power
player.
though.
You die. That's what you do.
That's what. Yeah, they generally point at you and you die.
They ask you your defensive stats, and then they make it so that you don't have any.
Exactly. Why do you think you get defenses?
Their heavy bolters go to 733 lethal sustained. That's not a heavy bolter, man. That's not a heavy bolter.
What is that?
Autocannon. That's like
no, because autocannons are only AP1.
And they're 9-1.
Odometer kill team funny gun shooting you with 1 CP. What are we doing? They only move 5 inches or anywhere they want.
And it's not like they can teleport 2 units a turn.
No, of course not. I mean, they would have to be kill teams for that.
Damn.
Or last 11 multi-meltas,
Ooh, I do
That's
like
a fun one.
That's fun.
A fun one.
Also with lethals or sustained on demand.
Yeah. Or if they got, let me do some quick napkin math. 25 CP a game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
No. I'm good. Just theoretical, just as a theory thing.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, Josh highlighted that you could do the same thing, but with Ultramarines.
Yeah, sure.
Because for some reason, the Captain ability and Gilliman's ability have different wordings.
Let's break down the napkin math for everybody for why they get 25 CP.
Okay, let's walk through this. So
you might as well. We're talking about it.
There are 5 battle rounds. You get
5.
1 at the part of every turn, so that's 10.
10.
You then have the Watchmaster ability, which gives you a discount on a strat. How many times, Jack?
Once a turn.
Once a turn.
So
so that gives you another 10. And then so we're at 20 now. And then
it's once a battle round, right? For the Watchmaster?
Well, the captain's once for battle round too, isn't he? Then it's only 20.
So that's another 10.
So that's 20.
So not 25.
It's 25 because they can discard cards and still get CP.
You get Your napkin math wins the day. If you discard a card and you use their abilities, you get 25 CP.
Fine, I will accept that. Yeah, for both
Who needs
Deathwatch and if you run Gilliman and a captain, you can be swimming in CP.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
is what it is. My stuff balanced, fair, leads to good games of 40K. Their stuff is unfair, and I wish they'd get nerfed.
I love it. And then Chaos Space Marines were our last event winner. They won a single event. They had a 47% win rate, 3 top 10s, 10 top 10s, 3 top 4s, 10 top 10s, and a 1.24 over rep. So that's it. Those are our stats.
they don't actually look that bad, but there's definitely some shit hiding there that terrifies me.
Yeah, if you sum it all together, there's one real faction that's outside of 55, which is Chaos Demons at 55.1, who have some problems in their detachment. I will say more worrying is that Chaos Demons have basically the same stats as Necrons, and Necrons have like 2% more, 2% more over meta representation than they do.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fine. And all of those wins are basically in the Slanesh detachment. I think Legion of Excess has all of their event wins from this most recent grouping.
Think so, yeah. I know regular Demons is still being played for some reason, but
it is. I mean, people don't own 18 Fiends, probably, is the real thing, but
true Chaos players do.
Sorry.
Well, Slanesh used to be a thing back in 9th edition. You could take a Slanesh army, and it was very good, and you'd take 18 Fiends and a billion Demonettes.
Yeah.
It was a stupid army, actually.
I much preferred the 3 Keepers plus Shalaxi build, personally, just because I loved running that many monsters at somebody in 9th edition, but that was just...
Listen, why would you take a model who pays an extra 150 points for reroll hits and wounds when they can all have that?
Yeah,
That's
but
true.
this one you have
I'm
one
not
where you don't have to
saying
give
you're
a
wrong.
fight first, right? That's kind of not really worth it, but you know.
Fair enough.
It is nice to go into a melee army and say, she's not going to gambit. Those 3 will, though. Where do you want to start?
Yeah. Oh, sorry, I'm starting. It's actually...
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's right. Shalaxi gets to go first. Punt.
It's always Shalaxi who gets to go first. Always.
Mike Pestilence from Warhammer asking people to own 18 Fiends. Oh, yeah, what kind of weirdo would have more than max rule of 3 of every Slanesh unit? Definitely not you, Mike.
Does that include the chariots, though? Do you own 3 of each of the subtypes of chariots, Mike?
And can you identify the different subtypes of chariots?
Yes. And then,
I certainly can't, because it's demons on wheels.
And then I will thank Wargamer on Wheels for joining us as a new member. Thank you, Wargamer on Wheels. That was very nice of you to do.
Oh, yeah. And to answer your question, Jack, are you going to 8TC?
I am. I'm going to
I'm
8.
not, because I have no idea where that is.
It's where it's at the end of wherever it is that when I get in a car and then I get out of that car, that's where I'll be.
Fair.
I don't know where it is. Somebody else will, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
I see that you subscribe to the Anthony Vanilla version of travel. I just get in the car and then I arrive at my destination, and that's all I need to know.
Vaguely north.
There you go.
For you guys, probably south.
It's definitely south of me, if it's in the States.
Unless
it's in Alaska, I guess.
Yes. That feels fair and reasonable.
Chattanooga, Tennessee. I still
Oh, then
don't
it
know
is
where that
south of us. Yeah. All right. Let's transition over to LVO as we fucking vamp our way through stats and talk about non-stats for a while. And Jack, why don't you walk us through your list real quick?
Sure. So when I saw the new Grotmas detachments, I looked at the Blood Angels one and I was like, oh, it's a shame we didn't get a cool one anyway. And I moved on to other detachments. But my job requires me to play the new detachments, whether I like them or not. Like I played the Black Templars one. That thing's awful. So I had to write a list for this new Blood Angels detachment. And man, I started out, I was like, okay, fine, I'll take some characters. What would be good in this? Probably like squads of 3 Sangard with a character. Or so I'll start the list with that. And then, a full 48 hours of the Pepe Sylvia meme later. And I have a list. I'm like, guys, I think this is really good. I think it's really good. Okay, all right, you don't understand. Okay, you don't understand. All right, so all those characters, right? They get so many buffs. Okay, and that's basically how that went. So the way the list works is all your characters get 2 of 3 buffs that you pick at the start of the game. You get either reroll ones to hit. You get 2 of reroll ones to hit and wound, fallback, shoot, and charge, and reroll advances and charges. And that is the stupid 3-headed dragon meme, right? Where 2 of the heads are really fierce and menacing. One of them is right. The reroll advances and charges is the stupid head. The other 2 are amazing, and you take them all the time. So you take those, and then your whole army has reroll ones, hit and wound, and fallback, shoot, and charge. And then you have some good utility strats as well. And now your whole army's rerolling like everything all the time, falling back, doing everything. You can have Oath go wherever you want. So anyway, my list. It is 2 jump captains and Dante in 3 squads of 3 sanguinary guard. These units were amazing. I loved them. They were really good. Then I have the Sanguinor, who's a G. I had, I'll save the best for last. I have, what else I have? I had the Lone Op Combi Weapon Lieutenant with the stand back up on a 2-up enhancement. And this dude was a prick. He was great. He would just run onto the center and onto the center objective directly in front of my opponent's army within 12 inches. I don't care. Boom, right on the center objective. I would always measure to make sure he was in 3 inches of the center, just so that if they draw air denial, they can really suck it. And that happened. So what would happen is if they put something on the center objective, I have a reactive move, flat 6 reactive move on the Lone Op Lieutenant. He'll just peace out, right? He'll just leave. So then they just put something on the center in order to not kill me, and then I shoot them, and then they die, and then the Lone Op Lieutenant goes back onto the center. And you rinse and repeat this until they don't have anything else left in the center of the board anymore. And they want to kill you, but they can't.
It seems like 3 of your opponents from this weekend are in the chat right now because they're all saying.
The other thing they can do is, take a turn off, stand 9.1 inches away, not give me the reactive move, oh no, and shoot my guy. In which case, they will still lose the thing they put in the center because I'll shoot him. So they'll still lose the thing. And I lose my first life. That is, that really, it cuts deep, Mm-hmm. But what I'll get in exchange is a 15 on primary, and then I still have the guy in the center of the board. So there's not a good way around that, is what I've found. I've played this list like over 30 times at this point, probably like 34, something like that. And I have not once has somebody had a good answer to him, other than shoot him and hope he rolled a 1, which did pan out once.
What about battle shock him and then run at him?
Sure, that'll do it. He comes back with 3 wounds, so he's not going to battle shock when he. It's not a strat. He stands up. It's just an enhancement, so he'll stand up even if he's battle shocked. And yeah, it doesn't matter. He's great. Love that guy. That guy was great. When I came up with that idea, I was so happy for the day. It's like,
that sounds so dumb.
I can put it on him, and then there's no way to deal with it. It's great. There's just nothing to be done. He's in the center of the board forever. And also, by the way, the thing you put on the center, I roll 1s to wound against it because I have my combi weapon lieutenant right there. So,
along with most of the rest of your army already re-rolling 1s to hit and to wound.
Of course.
Anyways.
The Vindicators don't, and they
do you mean they're not characters?
They are not.
Not yet.
So then that's 5 characters. I have a 6th as a librarian. Why is he in the list? So then I have 5 intercessors, 5 infiltrators, because Bridgehead is an army. Thank you. Also Deathwatch. They were very helpful there. Not enough, but they were very helpful. 6 plasma inceptors who were very good because you can up down in this detachment. Any jump pack unit. And then you shoot them. 3 bolter inceptors because I had 120 points left, and that's probably the best unit I could find for that slot. 2 vindicators who are very, very good. I might be missing a unit, but I don't think so. Oh, there's a las cannon devastator unit in the army, and that joins to the librarian, and it was so good. So what it would do is it would stand at a very long angle, right? And on GW terrain, there usually is a very long angle that'll control multiple lines of sight. Yep. Generally one down the board and one cross the board, right? And so with a character in the unit, first off, the librarian, as Jonathan points out in the chat, does give you a 4-up invuln, which is neat. But secondly, he's a pretty good gun. But third, he's a character. And if he's a character in the unit, it means you can reroll ones to hit and wound, which is good on Lascannon Devastators, who are standing still, hitting on 3s, getting ignores cover. But I know what you're saying. If you just put them out there in the shooting angle, your opponent's going to kill them. They're just some Marines. See, that's where you're wrong, Jeremy. That's where you're very silly. I hear you. But no, what they do is if they poke out and they try to shoot at you, you spend a CP in this detachment and say, you can't shoot at me unless you're within 18 inches. So
That's cruel.
Oh, it's so good. It's so... And they're already moving out to deal with the Lone Op Lieutenant, because the Lone Op Lieutenant, also not dying for the record, he just runs away. And then I just shoot them with the Lascannon devs, who are standing still in that lane, rerolling ones to hit and wound with heavy and ignores cover because they stood still. It's their signum or whatever. So that's really good.
Flip
but
a die to a 6, right?
As the final piece of the puzzle, you can give them sustained hits for a CP. And that's really good because, like, what will happen is you roll 4 dice and you reroll your ones, or you reroll all your hits because maybe they're oathed and they didn't poke anything out. And you're like, oh, I got 1 6. And I got 2 hits, a 6, and a miss. Well, I'll flip that miss to a 6 with my Cherub, which I have once per game. So now that's 6 Lascannon hits with ignores cover and reroll ones to wound.
That might be good. I don't know.
I do love that, of all things, Lascannon devs.
They're so cheap. That unit was 185. I could have gone cheaper. I could have made it 175 if I took a Tech Marine.
Yeah, but then you don't have the invuln. That's not as fun. Plus, isn't the Librarian's gun pretty good? The Smite?
Librarian's gun is pretty damn good. It's hazardous, which is like, but it's pretty good. It's D6 shots at 6, AP2, D3 damage, devastating wounds, rerolling ones hit and wound, and then sustained hits if you pop that, and 24 inch range, which is pretty solid.
That does seem pretty good.
Yeah, I had 10 points, so I was like, I want to upgrade him. I had somebody in practice. I had somebody get in range with Vindicator, give it 8b4 ignores cover, and wipe the squad. I was not happy, so I was like, all right, 4-up invuln it is. Occasionally you want to tank shots. You have one, you have the sergeant in the unit who sounds like he'd be the best, but he's actually the worst. And so if your opponent shoots with like a multi-melta or whatever, you just take it. You're like, oh, look, I lost the sergeant. Okay, cool. Wow. Which is pretty solid. So that was the list. I don't think I've missed anything actually at this point, even though I went through the list in the most ass-backwards way possible.
Infiltrators?
Yep. I mean, there's 6 characters. There's Dante, 2 jump captains, a librarian, a lone op lieutenant with a stand-up on a 2-up, and the Sanguinor, who's a G. Then 5 intercessors, 5 infiltrators, 6 plasma inceptors, 3x3 sanguinary guard, 3 bolter inceptors, and 2 vindicators.
Solid.
So,
with the exception of the Sangard, it sounds like a lot of the typical Marine pieces that a lot of people are already using in your standard Marine lists.
Yeah, a pair of Vindicators is just probably going in every one of my Marine lists at this point. They're very good. They're good at softening things up before you charge in, which is something I need to do in this army. And they can also crack big, tough targets, and they're also good into big, tough infantry. They're good kind of into everything, right? You can shoot them into a thing, it's going to take damage, regardless of what it is. It's not going to, if I shoot in the game against the cast called Derek, if I shoot the Lascans at him, he's not going to notice. But the Vindicator, that did peel up, Yeah.
You're going to pick up, 8 cultists every time you shoot it, so that's pretty nice.
But it's also good into, a Lord of Change or a Guo or whatever, right? And that's important. I need something that's just always good. It's durable and it takes up space really well. It was very solid.
I highly recommend it. Anyone wants to go back and watch that game against Derek on War Games Live, because Jack put up a hilarious screen with his
Lascannon Devastators.
With Lascannon Devastators and the Vindicators kind of go and charge me. I don't care. There's Sangard 6 inches, just within 6 inches of the front of them. I'm going to in heroic.
Yeah. So it scores pretty well. It has a lot of random nonsense. The 6 plasma inceptors were a late addition, but they're kind of necessary. I have a rough time into masses of 3 wound models, stuff like that. If somebody puts a unit of 6 Death Shroud with Typhus in front of me, I actually have a legitimately hard time dealing with that if the Vindicators don't pop off. Yep. So with the Plasma Scepters, it's dead. Let's move on to the next thing, which is very, very helpful. especially if there's something like I've also had an issue with a unit of like 10 Plague Marines with Fight First character in there, and the plasma will just come down and rip it off the board and move on with their lives. No big issues there. So it's very, very good for that sort of thing, which I found that I needed. Sanguinary Guard are incredible, by the way. They're so good in this detachment. So many times they lived through stuff that my opponents just did not think that they were going to. Derek thought he was going to kill them in combat. Nope. They ground through him. I had somebody charge them with 10 berserks out of Votan. 10. A unit. It was 3 Sanguinary Guard and a character. And they got charged by 10 berserks. Now they were not judgment tokened.
Yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, he killed 1, I think. So that was fun. Yeah, no, I was -1 to hit and wound. So he's 32 attacks, hitting on
30.
5s, wounding on 3s. I armor contempted and CP rerolled.
Ugh.
So that's actually average. I would like to know.
Yeah, it is. It's just that's infuriating.
And then you don't kill them, they punch you. It's not like Liberators where if they charge you, you lose a bunch of efficiency, right? You still hit them just as hard because you're rerolling 1s to hit and wound on everything, including Captain who hits on 2s. So they charge me, and I'm like, okay, so your unit's dead. We're just going to start there. And then I'm going to fall back from the land fort I was in combat with, because also land forts don't kill you in shooting. They just don't. They're all AP 1 or 2, and with contempt. So I fell back from the land fort, and I was just like, your whole objective's gone. Bye. Because I fall back and charge with everything. Fall, shoot, and charge with everything. So, like Derek, he charged in. I heroiced in. I killed half the unit. I only lost 1 Sanguinary Guard in response. Then I jumped over him, shot some stuff behind, charged back in, and got to kill the rest of the unit. And that's like 3 Sanguinary Guard and a captain winning a flank.
Solid. Very solid.
They did that a lot. Three of them and a captain. Three of them and Dante are absurd, but 3 of them and a captain are also very good. Dante, they just hit on 2s, and if you give them Lance Lethal, they wound on 2s, and they reroll all that. So it's just gnarly. And then with the captain, they get +1 strength. So the captain's power sword goes up to strength 6, and the unit goes up to strength 7. And then that gets over breakpoints. And so you're winning like Gravis on 2s with Lance and rerolling that as well. So they're very good. They are very, very good. They were the backbone of the list for sure. And honestly, it makes me want to try them in different detachments as well, because they were very good. What if I just give them buffs? Like, what if I make them better in Liberators or something?
Yep.
Huh?
I mean, a similar combo in Liberators would probably be pretty good. You'd have more volume and at a better profile. You just wouldn't have the rerolls.
Yeah, you get extorted for fallback and charge, which is not fun. I hate having to spend a CP for it. And also, if your opponent charges you, your damage is a little unreliable.
Well, it's Stormlance then.
You could do Stormlance. Lance is pretty good. The fact that I didn't even talk about it. The fact they're AP3 is huge. Huge. You just don't see that in the game right now. AP3 in combat, you don't see that. But swarms of just AP3 damage to attacks coming your way. If you have a 2-up armor save, 4-up invul, which a lot of things do, and Armor of Contempt, you can't save yourself from it, which a lot of them are used to. A lot of myself included, as a guy who played, Toughness 4 Terminators, right, the Sanguinary Guard. I'm used to, my opponent hits me in combat, I spend Armor of Contempt, worst I'm taking is a 3-up.
Yeah.
But suddenly I'm winning combat with Deathwing Knights out here. Because they don't, it just happens, man. Yeah. Like, I played a lot of practice games of Deathwing Knights, but did not actually play any games of the tournament into them. But what would happen is you would charge them, and they wouldn't be able to do, like, you'd go Lance, Lethal, full reels to hit a decent amount of the time if you don't have anything else to hit, or just reroll 1s. And you would go in and you'd be like, all right, 18 attacks, 17 wounds, take your 4-ups, because they can't Armor of Contempt against it, and they're not going to Armor of Contempt against just
like 9 of them.
And they lose like 2 guys, and they hit you back. They're -1 to hit, they're -1 to wound, you Armor of Contempt, and you lose like nothing. And then they're like, oh my god, I'm losing combat to damage 2. How is this happening?
Yeah.
Or
and not only that, but they're generally then stuck in combat with you while you can bounce back.
Yeah, and I'm perfectly efficient. I just don't have Lance. That's it. I'll hand them another 15 saves and watch another 2 guys drop.
Yep.
And that's bad. That's not good. They don't like that. And they also don't like you just drive up, get a Vindicator to shoot them with Oath, blast half the unit away, charge, kill the unit.
Yep.
Not actually that hard to deal with because AP3 is so good.
So what are the list's bad matchups then in the current environment? Because we've got Legion of Excess, we've got Bridgehead, we've got Star Shatter, essentially, which I don't think this thing really probably has problems into. But what are its challenges outside of Deathwatch teleporting and murdering your army?
Well, Deathwatch felt fairly even, honestly. I just happened to lose that game. I would say Bridgehead is fairly even. It's a fairly even game. I could always take more in infiltrators, and that would definitely help out. If I had 2 squads of infiltrators, I feel like I'm favored there, but I've won, so it's probably about even. AdMech was a little bit hard in testing, honestly, because it's tough to shoot their trade resources away, and I don't want to commit melee resources to clean up their like nonsense units in the middle of the board. That was a little bit annoying.
They can also make a chunk of their army -1 to hit in combat, which is kind of annoying when you're trying to chew through volume.
It is. It was more annoying than I would have wanted. I did win that practice game for whatever the heck that's worth, but it was more annoying than I wanted. Chaos Knights, weirdly enough, are kind of an issue for Marines in general, I think. Largely because Marines don't scale well into Chaos Knights. And so it takes like 2 to 3 units to activate to kill. It'll take like 1 unit with Oath at +1 to wound to kill 1 Chaos Knight. But then the second unit won't kill 1 Chaos Knight. So like it'll usually, once you get past Oath +1 to wound nonsense that you currently are thinking of, Jeremy, which is why you like rolled your eyes there. I saw it.
I was actually yawning because you are right, where you need to be able to reliably kill 3 to 4 War Dogs a turn
it's hard
to get up on that. And like even the Ironstorm list can kill 2 reliably, and the third one starts to get a little sketchy.
Yeah, I found that. I found it was like, okay, like the first one dies to Oath, sick. And that's it with Ironstorm, right? Ironstorm, the first one dies to Oath, and then the second through 4th ones are very hard to kill, and like you might not get there. So then they have 12 of them, and they are very good into you, right? Like a Brigand will pick up a unit.
AP 4 or 5 or whatever, doesn't care about your 2 up, 4 up.
And then getting the critical mass together to bring down enough of them can be a real issue. I honestly legitimately think that Chaos Knights are good into Marines for that reason. The Oath does not scale well, and Marines, it takes like 3 units coming together to kill as the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th War Dogs. So it's like, okay. So I can see that being a real issue. It was actually a real issue in practice. But luckily, Chaos Knights are not that prevalent. Other matchups that are tough. I mean, I had a hell of a time into Ironstorm, but there's nothing wrong with that, right? I think it's about a 50-50, which is not a bad place to be. I had a hell of a time into, I saw him in the chat earlier, Jonathan Lee, on his teleporting Necrons nonsense.
Hypercrypt.
Yeah, Hypercrypt. The list does not love units that can fairly reliably tank a las cannon dev squad to the face, i.e. toughness 13 monoliths. It does not love that. I did bring one of them down, and only with shooting too, which I was kind of happy with. I had Dante in there to charge it, but they did not need to. But that game was a 5-point game. It came down. It was pretty close. Those, I actually don't think there's any matchups it's like unfavored in, other than maybe Chaos Knights, weirdly enough.
Yeah. No, I guess the question is you obviously brought this to LVO and you did quite well with it. Do you feel that it matches like better than other Blood Angels into the field, or is it just a more fun way of doing it?
Other Blood Angels? Like, are there other Blood Angel lists out there?
I don't know. Something like Liberator, Salt Group, or like Bloodless Angels.
I do think it does, personally. I think Angelic Inheritors is better than Liberators, for the reason that I like the way that the buff is structured for your army better. Mm-hmm. You get it even if your opponent charges you. You get it if you charge your opponent. You get it if you're shooting your opponent. You get it if, like, whatever, right? You always have it. One thing when I was playing World Eaters and I played into Liberators, the way you beat them is you just charge them, right? They can't interrupt. They can't interrupt, because if they interrupt, whatever, like your strength 4. Okay, cool. They'll have one unit that fights first, and you have to navigate that, and that's fine. You charge Angron into that, you go -1 damage. They can fight first all they goddamn want.
Yeah.
And it's fine. But with the Blood Angel, with the Angelic Inheritors, not only do you have a lot more shooting, which is a huge difference, right? It's a 50-50 shooting combat.
Yeah, just saying you have the 2 Vindicators, you have the 6 Inceptors, the Las Cannon Devs, and then the other 3 Bolter Inceptors.
Yep. But your interrupts are just as efficient as your charges. So, like, if they charge 2 3-man Sanguinary Guard squads. The second one's going to sting, and it will likely only cost me 1 CP. In addition, Dante's just really good. The 6-inch Battleshock Pulse is so good, dude. It's so good. Oh, can you imagine if in the... I was hoping it would happen, but like, if in that Chaos Cult game he charges Dante's unit and fails the Battleshock check at -1...
He then gets to do nothing because all of their strength comes from strats and combat.
Like, so I like it better for that, right? You have your damage buff all the time. You don't have to pay for fallback, shoot, and charge, which means you'll use it more often and means you can use it in multiple places. Oftentimes what will happen is you hit your opponent with a bunch of stuff. They hit you back, and then like a guy plus a Sanguinary Guard, a captain plus a Sanguinary Guard, Dante plus 2, and a lone captain by himself will all fall back and all activate right again into your opponent.
Ugh.
And it just, their home objective's gone. Their expansion is gone. You tie them up, you finish off some stuff. It's nasty.
Yeah.
Also, the Sanguinor in Liberators is bad.
Because he rolls nothing but ones when you activate him the first time and then dies.
It's his favorite thing. 8 attacks, 5 hits, 3 wounds. It's, you could set your watch to it. It is predictable.
Yeah, the Bread Baron in chat pointed out what the Sanguinor did in the Shadow round. Do you want to share that one?
Yeah, it was great. So I shot a Vindicator and largely whiffed into it, and then he shot back and killed 4 of my Plasma Scepters. It was a great time. But it was Iron Storm. And, you got to go through the shoot back, man. Like, I didn't have the ability to kill it in one.
You have to engage with it at some point and just hope that it, works in your favor.
Yeah. What I tried to do is shoot it with the Vindicator, so he would shoot back at my Vindicator if he was going to shoot back at anything, which wasn't toast or anything. And then I was like, all right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish you with the Plasma Scepters. Well, if he fails one save, he fails one save. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I needed something to hold that flank, and also it was a place where I could shoot, not get shot back if my plan worked, which it kind of did, if you think about it.
Definitely didn't get shot back.
It did get shot on his turn. I'll put it that way. It got shot on my turn, which was bad. So he now has a Vindicator on 5 wounds, which is the wrong number.
That's like the worst to leave it on after you shoot a Vindicator.
So bad, because it gets to shoot me back, but it's not -1 to hit. So he's playing on layout 6. So there's this little tiny channel on the top of the board that he can go around his home ruin, and he's forcing that angle, right? Because you can see onto your opponent's objective. So I charged into this Vindicator because I had rapid ingress the Sanguinor to make sure I had 5 primary, which was good because 1 Vindicator iced 5 infiltrators without oath. A+. So yeah, no, it was good. I liked it. So the Sanguinor dropped down, made sure I had that objective, which ended up being a good play and winning me the game, and then ran up and hit the Vindicator and killed it. Didn't even give him saves. Rolled 3 death wounds. You're dead, sir. And then I consolidated through and tagged a Ballistus that was right behind it in this choke point.
Okay.
Later. And I also got behind enemy lines off that because I killed the Vindicator. If I didn't kill the Vindicator, wouldn't have gotten behind enemy lines. But I did, so I did. And then I tagged up his Ballistus. Now, he does have the ability to fall back and shoot. His character who gives him that was in range to go do all of that. What I also wanted to do, by the way, was take his home objective because he didn't have anything on it. It was just sticky. But he moved his lieutenant, so I wouldn't be able to do that. So I jumped sideways. Anyway, point being that I charged his Ballistus. And in his turn, he decided that what he was going to do was he was going to, first thing of his turn, he was going to just speculatively roll and see how far Calgar went. And this is, by the way, the 4th game in the day, 7th game of the event. So this mistake I also could make.
We've all made those mistakes in round 7 of an event.
Very normal mistake to make. But he just speculatively rolled Calgar's advance. Because he's like, if I get a 6, I might do something. And I already have 5 CP. I rolled a 2. You know what? We're going to try and make something happen. I think he probably felt like I was outscoring him a little bit at that point because I kind of was. So he's like, all right, so I'm going to re-roll it because I have 5 CP. I'm just going to use my free strat on this. I'll re-roll the advance. It's a 3. Okay, I'm not going anywhere. Goes through the rest of his turn, hands his Ballistus, fall back and shoot. And he's like, well, I want to get a line of sight to those guys that are on the objective. So he falls back over me, forgetting that he had already used the CP re-roll.
Yep.
He didn't actually use it.
Oh, no.
So you can see on the tape that he grabs the dice, like, I'm going to fall back over you. And as he pulls his hand back, I'm like, remember, you don't have a CP reroll for this. And I don't think that had processed by the time he released the die and it rolled a 1. And then he's like, oh my God, you're right. And just picks up his ballistas.
At least it was a good humor about that, but that hurts.
I could make that mistake. 100%.
Oh, yeah.
That was all the shooting on that side of the board gone because of one funny golden boy.
Well, and his command phase, like, ability invested into it, all of that.
Yes. So then he had to cover the rest of the turn. And there's nothing that can shoot the Sanguinor. He's behind a building, and there's nothing that shoots on that side of the board.
No.
So he moved Guilliman over to go deal with him because he had to. He can't just let the Sanguinor vibe 9 inches from his home objective. He shot him with everything he could. He did like 2 damage. So he can't just let the Sanguinor vibe there.
Yep.
So Guilliman goes and charges him, and Guilliman did kill him after taking 8 damage.
Ooh, because he fights first.
He does fight first. Did 4 dev wounds and 2 saves.
Hitting on 2s, wounding on 5s, rerolling 1s on it. Yeah, that's pretty. That's actually just scary enough for Guilliman, especially if he's already lost his first life.
Yeah, if he had lost his full life there, the game would have ended so hard. It would have been so bad because I would have taken his home objective off of that. But that would have been unlikely. Maybe I should have re-rolled one of the wounds. Try and get that 6.
Oh well.
But yeah, the Sanguinor was boss there.
Nice.
So him being on 2, by the way, made a huge difference because at the end of the game, I need to get 2 kills in order to win the game on points because I had no prisoners. And I'm down 3 points. I need 3 points. I need 4 points on no pris. So first thing of the turn, throw a grenade at Guilliman, kill him. That would not have killed him if he were at 10. I would like you to know.
Grenades cannot do 10 mortal wounds, you're saying?
Reasonable.
No, so I would have definitely lost the game if the Sanguinor was not a complete boss. Anyway, what am I talking about? Where am I?
That's exactly what we were talking. We were talking about just what the
talking
Sanguinor went to do in that game, and just why he is so much better in Inheritors than he is in any other detachment.
Well, he also, in the following round on camera, dropped in and myrtleated a what are they called? Dark Apostle?
Yeah, the Corrupted Chaplain.
Yeah, because he charged me, and that's what the Sanguinor waits for in that matchup. I actually deployed him on the board because I can cover myself with a heroic if he charges me turn 1. Yep. And then at the end of his turn, I'll put him back into reserve so he can stay there forever, right? Past turn 3. So I'll have to charge me at that point.
So he's just always threatening that heroic at some point and going to ruin a melee army's day.
Yeah, and there's really no way to prevent it. Yeah. He said something afterwards about what he should have done was probably like ring his unit with cultists, but I'm getting line of sight to your character, man. Your unit's the size of North Carolina.
Yeah, I think I was helping cast that game with Joe, and I think he was trying to explain that what he should have done was like block out the wall, block out the plate on one side, have him on the inside, so that yes, you could drop in, but you would never be able to get line on him. But he didn't do any of that. He just left the Dark Pulsar behind the wall, and you went, well, yeah, Sanguinor goes here.
I also don't think it would have worked, because the Sanguinor is nice enough to be like this. So I could drop 1 inch away from any model, stick my giant-ass wing out, get line of sight around the wall, and be like, you're mine!
Yep.
Because you drop down, you go 1 CP precision, and you murder a character. My favorite thing to do is to drop in if you get charged by Death Guard and just snipe out their fight first character, because the unit just has its pants down if you do that, right? Like, you just pants them.
Yep.
Like, they do not like that. They look around all embarrassed. It's not good for them. They just get, like, in a practice game, basically, that's what happened. I put him into the sky turn 1 because I know at some point in the game he has to charge me, so he doesn't get to outweight it. And then he charged me in 2 places, and I dropped the Sanguinor. I picked out his fight first character. Easy, by the way. 3s roll 1s, you get 6 up, 2 go through, you're dead. Dev wounds, like,
yeah, I guess they're 4 wound T5, no invuln. I suck at life Marines.
Snipe it out. And also, people always assume that they can prevent this. They can at least trade with the Sanguinor. No one has ever traded with the Sanguinor when I played it. The way that works is everyone always assumes I'm going to, like, if this is the unit, they're going to cluster around the unit and all go base to base, so that no matter where I go, they'll get to fight with like 4 guys. But
you don't have to drop base to base with the Sanguinor.
I don't have to drop base to base. So if they go like this, I go 1 inch away here of one model, and whatever model has like a flamethrower is the one that gets to hit the Sanguinor after the Sanguinor is done cutting their friend in half.
Yep.
In addition, against something like Bloodless Angels, where they have a ton of 5-man squads, this is really good because they charge you. You just drop murder the 5-man squad. Now you have the squad they were trying to kill and the Sanguinor ready to just also pick up 2 more squads, and the cascade chains from there.
Yeah, it's in the few times that I've played again, when I was playing my Gladius Dark Angels, when I would play against the Sanguinor, that was always a problem for my JPI, because I would try to use my JPI as like a cheap little trade unit or to cause problems, and then the Sanguinor would just drop down and delete the unit, and I go, oh, that's a problem.
Yep. Because you can't really just afford to have one of your trades not work. And not only not work, but not exist.
Yeah. And especially when, like, then you don't have an answer to that loan up that's sitting, next to your deployment zone sometimes.
Yeah, there was definitely a moment in the game against Derek where he wanted to, on the same turn he charged into my unit and I killed his chaplain or Dark Apostle or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
He wanted to charge his what's that stupid character who Cypher. He wanted to charge Cypher to finish off my second second life on my lone op lieutenant. And I was like, remember I have the Sanguinor. He's like, uh-huh. And I'm like, okay. And he failed that charge. Luckily
Which is probably good for him because Cypher just dies there, doesn't he?
Yeah, the Sanguinor was going to come in and scoop his heart out. Like, it was because he had area denial, and there's this stupid dude standing right in front of his army that he can't kill. So if Cypher had actually made the charge, I would have. I was a little bit surprised because I was like, remember I have Sanguinor. He's like, uh-huh, and continued, like, rolled it. And I'm like, okay. But he failed it, which was good for him. So instead, he only lost his Dark Apostle and then failed the subsequent.
Maybe he would have been better off if you had gone into Cypher and the Dark Apostle stayed up.
Well, he did exactly a 6 on his leadership for the reroll wounds strat, which is exactly the number where he would have where he failed because he didn't have the chaplain, and he would have passed if he had the chaplain.
Yeah, I mean the Dark Apostle's leadership 5s, that kind of that 5 or 6. Either way, it was very funny to watch go down. Dark Apostle gets personed out. He pays for the strat, and you go, yeah, leadership test. Let's see what happens. 7 isn't that hard, but we all know when you have to try to roll 7s, what happens.
Yeah, and he's not +1 to wound either way. And then
because he lost, because the chaplain or the Dark Apostle is there to give him the +1 to wound. Which I like the tech piece in there. The Dark Apostle has the regrow enhancement on him, so he can bring back torments and all that jazz. But just having him aced by the Sanguinor like that is not good for the rest of that game.
No, it's bad. Well, the bigger thing about the Sanguinor is that it's not just the turn he drops he's a problem. It's that he also gets to start my turn in the middle of your army, go wherever I want, and charge whatever I want.
Well, and that's what he did. He just kind of hung around in the back in his deployment zone until he got meeped.
Yeah, he got run over by a truck. He was like and ran me over with a second edition.
What was it, like 2 full rounds of shooting and like a round of combat with a bunch of random jank took 3 wounds off of him, and then a rhino said, "This is it. I'm going to show you boys how it's done."
Yeah, it just murdered him horribly. Like, if you think everyone that I've seen talk about the Sanguinor has said, like, "Oh my God, you can drop down, fight, and then send him back up into reserves." I'm like, you're never doing that.
Well, no, because the drop down is only once per game, right?
Yeah, the going down into combat, that's once per game. It doesn't re-rack. But secondly, the best part of it is the turn after.
Where he's just messing with your opponent for the rest of the game.
Yeah, well, like, he drops down, snipes a character, or kills a trade piece or whatever. And if your opponent had the gall to try to charge you anywhere within, like, 24 inches of their home objective or 18 inches of their home objective, it's yours now. The Sanguinor is the man.
Yeah, you're selling me on the Sanguinor right now. And Donald Plummer Jazz, like, Jack's enthusiasm for Blood Angels makes this Tau player really want to play with the Sanguinor.
Everybody wants somebody who can deep strike, be a lone op, and just fuck with your opponent's head forever.
Oh yeah,
that's what everyone wants.
Yeah, no, I'm sold on that. I love the combination of lone ops in this army, and then obviously, as you were talking about, like the last cannon devs with the librarian trick, all of this just seems like really fun mission play, and also just fucking around with your opponent.
Yep. Dante's unit also hits incredibly hard with reroll 1 hit and wound. You charge in, most of the time it's 20 attacks hitting on 2s, rerolling, wounding on 2s, rerolling.
That is quite good.
EP3, all of it. Like, yeah, it's not.
Dante, is he 2 damage or is he 3 damage?
He's 2 damage. Oh. But he has 8 attacks with native lethal and at 8/3/2. Rerolling 1 hit and wound. He gets the job done.
Yeah, no, that just seems solid, and I'm glad he's not on a 25 mil anymore because he was definitely, yeah.
It's an itty bitty boy.
At least people now have to respect him based on both the model and the rules.
Anyway, I don't know if it's come through, but I love that army. That army is so much.
Your joy here has been very clear how much fun this is, and I'm sure that quite a few of the listeners of yours are going to want to try this out themselves. So, if they wanted to, one, is there anything you would change about the list? And two, what are like 3 things that they should know running the list?
I can't think of anything I'd want to change right now. It's somebody in the Art of War Discord that's very good, and you should join it. Suggested that I replace the Bolter and Scepters with a Hammer Strike, which is actually the first suggestion I've heard to replace them with that I actually like.
The Hammer Strike's solid. Strips cover, good melta, good missile.
It's fast. It's a decent trade piece. If I need to just strip
It
my
has deep strike.
expansion objective, it has deep strike, and it can combine with the rest of the army to crack cover. For example, I would have really preferred it if Mark Hertel's Indomitus kill team didn't have cover. That's an example.
For those who didn't watch the semis with Mark, Jack put the full unit of Inceptors into an oathed Indomitor kill team that popped AOC, put 14 wounds on the unit, and they failed.
It's burned into my brain forever. Yeah, 14.
3?
Yeah, I killed 3, and 2 of my own guys, so 5 grabs. Marines, if you think about it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I guess they, Oh,
so I'm like, maybe a Hammer Strike would be good. You don't get any of this funny cover nonsense.
Is that the trauma speaking, or is that truth? Is the question?
Who knows? What's the difference, really?
It all comes from the same place.
Yeah, I was a little worried at first because you started saying hammer. Kelly Hosing in chat pointed this out. I for a moment was worried about what you're going to say because she thought that, or they thought that it was you're referring to the hammer fall bunker.
No.
I too also immediately thought of the Hammerfall bunker and not the Hammer Strike. I won't lie. And
Luckily, Francois has been running double Hammer Strike and Gladius and loving them. So,
Floof in chat.
have you considered ignoring cover when you come from reserves?
Sorry, we can't all be that neat. But yeah, no, the Vindicators also ignores cover, which you could throw on and shoot. And if you have to move the Las Devastators, they appreciate it as well. And then the Plasma Scepters shooting things really like that. It also means that they don't get 3-ups on Terminators if they AOC and cover. So I actually like that change. I think
that's cute. I think it's not a horrible idea.
No, I like it. So it might mean that I have to take a Tech Marine instead of the Librarian, which honestly is like potato.
Yeah.
Because I'm at 2K, so I need to make...
Yeah, and I guess the Tech Marine can also bonk the Vindicator every now and then as well.
He also gets really mad if one of them dies.
It does. Is this then 7 attacks at 7/2/2?
I think he has a servo arm as well, so it's 8.
Yeah.
I need to double check. But yeah, then he re-rolls 1s to hit and wound on that.
It's pretty good.
And if I lose 4 models in the unit, I almost never leave a las cannon. I almost always leave the sergeant with a power fist. It just becomes a melee unit.
Just a Tech Marine with and some random tactical Marine with a power fist running around saying, "You look a lot like Horus."
That's right. Well, I had that.
Power fist.
I had the Librarian and the random Devastator Sergeant kill a crisis suit unit. It was great. They ran up and killed 1 in shooting because the Librarian rolled a good on his smite. And then they ran up. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, Blake, this is why he was talking about downgrading to the Tech Marine, because you are 5 points off that, right? Because you're exactly 2,000 points with the list right now, so dropping the Inceptors and adding the 125 Hammer Strike necessitates the drop to a Tech Marine.
You're a little bit worse at contesting random objectives away. You're a little bit worse at doing random secondaries in your opponent's side of the board, and you're a little bit worse about blocking the board against deep strike armies because you can't just close the gap with a 6-inch deep strike.
Yeah, makes sense.
In general, I probably think that's the change I'd make if I were to make one, because it's the rest of the list. It's that 120-ish points that you can mess with. Everything else in the list is pretty tight.
Makes sense. All right. So what's the first thing that people should know about this list?
It's cool, fun. You should try it. It's for really cool people. It's big old brains, big old thinkers going on up here.
No smooth brains allowed.
Nah, you can be smooth brain too. You can probably make a list that's 18 Sanguinary Guard and just rock around the clock.
So actually, that is a question. So I know I'm joking about the three things, but why 3s over 6? I have an opinion on this, but I'm curious to hear yours.
They're really efficient. I have an issue with the list. The one issue with the list I would say is that it incentivizes taking, like, it wants to be MSU because you get the buffs everywhere in your army. You don't need to spend CP for most of the buffs, but you have to add a character there. So that gets expensive fast.
Yeah.
So if I'm running around with these 6-man squads that are like 400 points, it's going right 6-man squad with a character, like with Dante's.
Yeah. Okay.
I run out of points way too fast, and I end up with either being just a melee army or a melee army with like 2 Vindicators. And if I'm doing that, I should probably just be running Liberators at that point. But who knows? That's why I went with the 3-mans. The 3-mans are also super good. Like, they were incredible. They were exactly the durability and damage and every breakpoint that I needed those units to be. And I like them. What was your opinion, though? You said you had one.
Well, for me, it's actually kind of a weird one. I really like the 3-men with the captain because you're never taking battle shock on them. You're never having to worry about it, and also you're less worried about like under trading with the unit.
Yes.
Because with 6-mans, you're always like, I need to make sure this is perfect, or I lose a key fifth of my army with this unit.
Yeah,
Whereas
100% accurate. I don't have JPI that are good to do damage.
Yeah.
Right.
Because you don't have the buffs that Liberator would give those that make them, trade up in the same way.
Yeah. The other option for those remaining points, by the way, is something like Reavers with a Phobos Lieutenant, but that's slightly too many points to get by cutting the Librarian down to a Tech Marine, and I really don't want to cut him to an Apothecary, please.
But then you can bring them back.
Yeah, but what if they never die in the first place?
Or they just get wiped to the man because they got hit by AP3, ignore cover.
Yeah, that too. So, yeah, I don't know. That unit's good, but it's like slightly more points than I have. So. Anyway.
How does the matchup into... How do you handle the matchup into guard, I think, is probably going to be people's big question.
Well, the tanks aren't actually a big issue if they have a bunch of those. The Laskin and Devs, the first time they activate with the flip to a 6 and sustained hits, are generally good for one tank. Sometimes they swing under. That's what God invented Vindicators for. But they're pretty reliable at doming a tank on the turn that you are standing still with Oath and sustained hits and flip to a 6. They're pretty good at that, right? It's usually 6 hits. I've had 7. Not had the mythical 8 yet, but it's happened.
Yeah.
So they're pretty good at that. So like one tank is generally kind of free. And then because you're really good at skirmishing the center because of the Lone Op Lieutenant and whatnot, you're pretty good at forcing your opponent to bring resources into positions where Vindicators can take tight little narrow angles and shoot at them in a position where they can't really be shot back by other things in the army. Generally pretty good at that. So if you move Vindicators out and shoot at your opponent that way, they'll shoot back and kill the Vindicators. Eventually, they are pretty tough. But if your opponent has to come to you, it's pretty easy to be like, okay, the tip of this vehicle is seen by the tip of my vehicle, and nothing else can get to that line, shoot you. And you can really add up that way. Also, Sanguinary Guard are pretty decent at killing their vehicles. So the vehicle's not really an issue, right? I can deal with multiple vehicles in one turn. I charge one, charge another, Lance rerolls, one's Dante, one Las Cannons, one gets double Vindicator and Oathed, and like, okay, cool, I'm fine there. Bridgehead is a little tougher. It's very second turn favored because I can set up a castle they don't really want to come into, and they can set up a castle that I really don't want to come into.
So you just kind of play on your side of the board, hope you get slightly better card draws and that you went second.
Yeah.
And if you go first, you have to make something happen out of it.
You can still kind of rush them down as long as you pick off a couple resources first. But it's not great.
It's not like they're punching you back.
Try to do that. So if you really want to make that matchup better, it's very simple. You just drop the Bolter and Scepters and pick up another squad of Infiltrators. And that actually gives you 20 points. And you could, if you really felt like telling Bridgehead to get out of here, you could swap your Intercessors for Infiltrators as well with those points. I thought about it.
Jesus. Just 3x5 Infiltrators going, I'm done.
Yeah.
How much teleportation trauma do you have? And does it
well, that was what I took to LVO 2 years ago.
It worked.
If I took it to this LVO, I would have gotten into the finals. For teleporting. So, I definitely don't think about that.
Makes
And
sense.
then what about the matchup into Legion of Excess then as well? Kind of what's the play pattern there?
I imagine that you don't really mind if they want to gambit into you.
No, they can't really gambit into Sanguinary Guard at all. If they do, they die. Is generally how that works. Now, the thing you have to worry about is you can't rest easy knowing that, because like if they charge 2 squads of Sanguinary Guard, only one of them gets to swing first, and the other one gets to be sad, because real hits and wounds neatly gets around -1 to hit, -1 to wound, especially if they have sustained hits. And
things like keepers have a lot of flat 3 damage, which could hurt.
So you have to play a very careful game. Now, the nice part is that, like Liberators, if they interrupt, their interrupt kind of sucks. They don't have rerolls to hit and wound, right? So what that means is that you can charge them. So like the game plan is you take the hit on like a screen of Infiltrators and Las Cannon Devastators if necessary, or Vindicators, or whatever the heck. The Bolter Inceptors can be a screen when necessary, although they're not bad into this matchup actually. So like Vindicators probably, and like Infiltrators take the hit, and then you jump them. And Sanguinary Guard are very good. Even with the high AP, that doesn't matter. They're very good at reliably just putting enough damage to murder the crap out of some things. Keepers need to die to shooting because your melee isn't very good at it, or you have to be oath to get in there with Lance Lethal to finish them off. Because you're not going to top to bottom a keeper, but you do need to kill them. They are damage 3, real hits and wounds, tough to kill once you've lost critical mass. But the idea is the Blood Angel list does wildly more damage than it looks like it does, because everything re-rolls all the time. So a lot, like what I had happen when I played Nick when he was playing Legion of Excess, I played a practice game with him, and he hit me quite hard. He picked up a Vindicator, he picked up some infantry, he did a bunch of damage, and then I hit him back, and he went from an army to not an army anymore, and that was very helpful. Now keepers do make that a lot more sketchy, but so you do have to focus on them first. Yeah,
seems solid. Is there anything else we want to cover? Or we want to go into show questions, because we do have a bunch of questions from the patron Discord for Jack.
Yep. Why don't you do the plugs and I'll grab the questions and get them together.
Sure, sounds good. Go check out the stuff that's down below. You ready?
Oh yeah, I'm ready. All right. The first question is from Innis: how to beat bad armies?
I've never figured this out, Innes. I mean, basically, here's my game plan, right? I just rank them really low on a tier list, and I hope people stop taking them.
I see the psyop. The psyop starts with the best and most like one piece of content. I got you. All right.
Horns.
The second question is from McWhirp, which is better, Ultramarines or Death Guard?
Oh, Ultramarines.
Yeah.
For sure.
Death Guard might be more reliable, though.
Death Guard are pretty solid, though. And yeah, Death Guard are pretty solid. And into a melee army, it's Death Guard.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, 18 Death Shroud Mortarion with -1 weapon skill and minus
couple Nurglings behind you.
And some Nurglings. Yeah, have fun with that. But generally into the meta, I would say Ultramarines for sure.
Yeah, I would say that, double oaths +1 to wound probably, might be good. Just maybe, possibly, a little. John says, so, GSC still a tad overtuned, or is Floof just a horde specialist and a meta not ready for it?
Well, personally, I think Floof can be both cracked and playing a really good army. So...
yeah. They are very dedicated to their army. They're in the chat today, and they're already putting some very self-deprecating comments in here, so it's beautiful. But I would say that GSC are in a perfectly fine spot, but that good players are going to do exceptionally well with them.
Yes. GSC definitely is an army that rewards a skilled pilot very well. I'm not scared of most GSC. I was worried about Nick's final day, for example.
Yeah. I'm glad that Josh took that one out for us.
I can be both glad and not glad at the same time.
Yeah, because he didn't have to play it then.
I don't want to play into... Okay, it's a very simple equation. You need points to win a game of 40k, and if your opponent has gargoyles, you have no points. I don't know how to square that circle, Like, what am I supposed to do? Oh, hold on. I know. Draw 44 on secondaries while my opponent draws a 26. That would do it.
That would do it indeed.
We're going to go through super chats real quick just because. Thank you, Thomas, for the $5 super chat. Jack, why must you cheat so much? JK, thanks for reigniting my love for Blood Angels. Great showing at LVO.
I don't
So
know.
I'm going to address this right now. The last 2 days, I've gotten nothing but DMs of all of these people who just love to hate on people doing well and nitpick the dumbest shit. If there was actually any kind of cheating issues at LVO, the judge team is going to handle them. We don't need to go on witch hunts for people. Yeah, it's just dumb. So
No
I
witch
will joke about it, but let things go.
The guy seems to be somewhat unwell.
Yeah.
For context, if anyone hasn't noticed, there is someone who was posting about 6 threads an hour about Jack.
From 3 years ago.
No,
it's good.
Which,
Yeah.
as me and Jack remembered, was the last time we saw each other in person.
Yeah, well, definitely the point where he was complaining about what squad I had attached Dante to in an edition that didn't have attached characters was definitely a pretty high point. Yeah, I don't know, man.
We don't have to touch on it more than that, bud.
Yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that.
And there was nothing there, so it's fine.
And thank you to Cattle for not asking a question, but gave £5 anyways and says, "Keep her lit, lads. How buzzing is Jack talking about his list? Nerd." Which sounds like something that got recorded, from Cattle talking into his phone instead of an actual thing. Somebody.
I don't know
to
if that man actually knows how to type.
I don't think he does. I've received many a Facebook recording message from this man. And then Jabbar, thank you for the $5 super chat. Have you had any other thoughts on what you would run with Blood Legion? Congrats on your LPO placing.
Nathan's laughing right now because Jabbar said, "Hey, Jean." I don't know who Jean is.
Yeah, my brain immediately was like, "Is what?" And then it was just, "Is what again?" for the rest of that question.
Well, a lot of people, for whatever reason, confuse me and John. Yeah, I had somebody message me saying that they were taking John's Blood Angel group coaching. I'm like, I don't think he's doing a Blood Angel group coaching. I think I am doing one. So yeah.
I didn't even know that John knew how to play Blood Angels.
Nope.
I don't know.
So maybe he's just saying John, but
apparently you're John Harpster now, according to Red Room.
I mean, I am John Harpster. First off, my legal name is John.
Oh damn, we got lore now from Jack.
Yeah.
The next question is from, oh man, I can't pronounce special letters, folks. Soltis, Novak. I assume.
It also
what
has
are
a
the
special letter
unlock
in his
codes?
name.
Oh, I didn't answer the question though. I want to.
Yeah.
Sorry. Go for it. Yeah, answer the question.
Let it be known in the chat that if you typo, you will just get made fun of. There's no. It's all.
It's really okay. We're just gonna make fun of you a little bit.
I think if you run Blood Legion, I think Blood Legion can work because its set of rules is really interesting and unique. I think you defend objectives better than basically any other army in the game. The problem is your units are fairly fragile and are expensive. So what you need to do, and you just run out of units. And so the couple times I've played that army, my opponent's been like, "Damn, this is a really hard problem you're making me solve." And then turn 3, I'm just out of units. And they're like, "Oh, okay, you're dead. Cool. That doesn't. All right, we can move on." So what it needs, you just need to take more units. It just needs to be a lot of bloodletters, a lot of maybe even 3-man crushers, although they kind of suck. A bunch of flesh hounds, a bunch of chariots, 3 Ren masters, just as many units as possible.
All right. Next question.
Michael Novak asks, "What are the unlock codes for the host's phone?"
That was definitely my moment of probably the least secure I've ever been from a technology perspective. Anyone who watched the stream on Sunday, Floof was getting ready. Floof had mentioned that their phone was broken, so they would it'd be a little bit harder for them to look up stuff on their phone. I just said, "Hey, you can borrow my phone. I don't mind. I'm sitting back here behind the stream desk. I don't need it." And I handed it to them before the round and had given them my unlock code just in case they needed it. And no, the best part is I then grabbed the phone back, finished setting up the table for them, got back behind the desk, handed it back to Fluve, and then they were like, "Oh, what's the code?" And I went, "It's the."
Well, what is it? You changed it, so it doesn't
I have changed it since then.
what was the code?
It was 5746. It was an old code that I had used for a while, and it was overdue for changing anyway. So it was worked out that I did this, but it was very funny because then I immediately went. I realized I had hot mic'd myself. And went shit.
Amazing.
Yeah, Nexus Solution points out the best part is that they never even used the phone. Yeah, I noticed that the phone stayed on the table. You knew your profiles pretty well, so.
All I remember for phones is that one time I told Jeremy my phone wasn't working, and he took my phone away and then fixed it.
Yeah, it wasn't charging because it had lint in the charge port.
Yeah. All that happened was I gave Jeremy a problem.
I like solving problems and I like helping my friends. What can I say?
It's true.
It just was a brilliant moment of I was not thinking clearly about what I had on my head at the time.
It happens. Jordan Cole, thank you for the $5 super chat. 30 Wolfen plus a Reaver and a Phobos Lieutenant to unlock OC for them all. Master plan or crazy delusions?
Nobody gets OC today. No, that's what you do. You take 30 Reavers and 30 Wolfen, and the Wolfen run in front of the Reavers. So if they charge you, they don't have OC. Nobody has OC.
Oh, and clearly you're then running them as champions of Rust so that you can then take your opponents home, and then all your Wolfen have OC.
There you go. There's the plan. You take all of their OC and you make it your OC.
And hear me out. You do it with the Phobos Lieutenant with Reavers that jump, shoot, jump, that deep strike in, shoot and scoot, and then charge onto their home.
Yes, that's exactly what you do, of course. Next question. It's from Ben F. CSM Bile did not have a great showing at LVO. What's your opinion on its inclusion for teams? Still worth it, or was LVO an outlier?
I think it's still a good army. I think it, like World Eaters, has the issue that it tells you it is a very simple army, and it tells you should play it in a very brain-dead way, and it's lying.
That's a great way to lose, and it's a reason why Anthony is very much enjoying Bile right now, because they are a good melee army, but they are not a simple melee army.
Yeah. But
I've watched a lot of players play Bile recently, and I've only ever seen Anthony do really well with it.
Yeah. No, same with World Eaters, right? Like, I think World Eaters, if you play it well, are a very well positioned army right now. I think they legitimately are, and you saw Brian Daughtry do well.
Brian Daughtry made it to the Shadow Round with them with the I don't want to say bog standard, but it was a World Eaters list.
Bog standard for a reason, right? Like,
because the index has been played to death over the last 18 months.
And I think it's a very good army, very well positioned in the meta right now if you play it well. And if you don't, you get tabled. It's the same thing with Creations of Bile. The army tells you, just run at your opponent. It'll be okay. That's what this army does.
It won't be okay.
If you're a World Eaters play, just run at your opponent. Just get your army out there. Just go. And it's lying to you. Don't do that. Play smart. And then also sometimes sometimes you do want to send it. But generally use a little.
Knowing when you're supposed to send it.
Yeah. So I would not worry about that. I think it's very good in teams because it has the capability to run people over. And when you have the capability to run people over, it is a weapon in pairings, and that's very helpful to whoever's doing the pairings because your opponent has to avoid that.
Sure. Logan asks, in quotation marks for his question, why would Innis have jet lag at mid-afternoon PST, that specific standard time?
I don't actually know what that's in reference to.
I don't know either, but I would assume it's because Innis is not in afternoon PST and is in fact in some weird conglomeration of whatever Scotland is from GMT.
Either that or he's currently living in Scar's pocket.
That's also possible. He might have just traveled in. Yeah, also that.
And maybe that fight first unit.
And then the next question has a question hidden somewhere in it. Is also from Logan. All right. It seems that both the meta between factions and the skill gap between top players and TTS converts is overall very compressed. Does the variance of tactical cards and what is effectively 10 rounds of best of one game single elimination mean that repeatedly winning super majors is an almost impossible feat now?
I mean, repeatedly winning super majors is always really hard. Now, the skill level of the game has risen,
It has, and I don't think that you could necessarily differentiate between like top players and TTS converts because many of the top players these days are TTS converts. And like, I'm not sure if this is a reference to Mark Hurdle being a TTS convert because he's definitely not. He's been playing in person and winning GTs and the like for years now. He was I think he was one of the few players that had a winning record into Launch Drukari in 9th edition.
There you go.
Yeah, well, he also he did take the boat brigade.
I love the boat brigade.
The AdMech like million transports with a million stubbers. He saw that Reddit post about taking heavy bolters.
Taking more bolters and chainswords.
He was like, maybe that guy's onto something.
It worked.
It does.
And then the 9th Codex AdMech Codex came out and he went, I don't like this. I can't do what I used to do. But yeah, I think in general that you do still see single player dominance. There's just more of them. Like perfect example of that is Liam VSL, back-to-back LGT titles.
It's tough.
That's 10 rounds of single limb in a row that he won.
Yeah,
Twice.
I'll say I think that winning any like super major, no matter who wins it, is a fluke. Kind of almost is weird.
Yeah, there's luck in pairings, there's luck in gameplay, there's luck in card draws and all that jazz. And but at the same time, a good player will know how to mitigate a lot of that luck.
Yes.
Or respond when things go sideways because, you put a Dreadnought out and a single Riptide kills it.
For example.
Sometimes you will all roll just once, and that's okay. Sometimes you roll ones.
Sometimes a Cyclone missile launcher and 4 Storm Bolters picks up an entire Sanguinary Guard squad.
Yep. That does happen sometimes. Floof, thank you for the $5. Oh, yeah. Fair.
Mm-hmm. 1 Cyclone missile launcher.
One, just one Cyclone missile launcher.
Not 6 shots, 2 shots.
Did
two shots and 16 bolters for a unit of Sanguinary Guard. I'll take that trade.
Yeah, no, it was 2 shots, so naturally that's 2 dead Sanguinary Guard, and then 16 bolters is 3 failed saves, and that's another dead Sanguinary Guard, and there you go.
Yeah, I get you. Okay,
I loved
fair
it.
enough. Yeah, I understand now.
No,
All
it's
right,
good.
it definitely sounds like it was good. It definitely doesn't sound like you have nightmares at night or anything about it.
No, it's fine. Definitely not gray Terminators teleporting 9 inches away from me.
Definitely not. Are you sure that the
banging 9s just like?
Are you sure the dark gray Terminators aren't in the room with you right now?
No one's asked him his defensive stats recently.
Fair. Thank you, Flu, for the $5 super chat. My buddy got COVID and I got a head cold from LVO. Thoughts on Nurgle plagues getting nerfed in the next patch so this doesn't happen as often? I do suggest masking during the winter season, actually, if you're going to be in a room with like 1,000 fucking people.
Realistically, everyone at those cons should be masking, and I'm a horrible example of this. But I also count it lucky. I've now gone 3 tournaments back to back that I've traveled for that I have not gotten sick for, which broke the cycle of about 6 in a row where I would get horribly sick after I came back.
Well, I mean, if you got infected this weekend, you will know in
about a day. Yeah.
Yeah. I will just. Oh, I can't make the next one, guys. I'm feeling kind of sick. It's probably unrelated to LVO though.
I will just say, for the record, that folks, that there are at least 3 respiratory diseases that are currently flinging their ways through large 4, because bird flu is now going to get added to that list. So 4 respiratory diseases currently hurtling their way through population centers. So mask and be careful, especially mask on airplanes and shit like that, where you're stuffed into tiny metal tube with people.
You're saying that the ritual doorknob licking that we did at Ben's place was probably not what we should have done?
I don't know. You might have handled it like a kindergarten class handles it, which is herd immunity through force of infection.
Lick every doorknob is what I'm hearing.
You can lick every doorknob. I won't say that you can't.
No.
You may get sicker way faster, but you'll get out. All right. Rickard asks 2 questions. Casual event coming up on the 1st, and I think it's time I bring some of my 15 plus Custodes jet bikes. How many should I bring?
Well, you're only allowed to run 12.
Yes, and probably also shouldn't run any of the characters because they are hideously overpriced. The bike characters are 160. The bikes themselves are 75. Do the math on that one.
Aren't the bikes 80 now?
The bikes are 75.
Oh, okay, I thought they were 80 after they got buffed.
Nope, they went from 70 to 75. I'm playing them tomorrow live on stream at the Art of War 40K.
If they're actually 80, Jack, we're coming for you.
They're not. I mean, but it wouldn't be the first cheat, and it certainly will not be the last.
It wouldn't be the first time that a live stream has had the wrong points on their thing.
Yeah, Drukari beating the tar out of Ultramarines at like 1,700 points was definitely was a fun time. No, we did not do that to prove a point. We did that because Nick can't do math.
So 9. 9 is the number that I'm hearing. 9 jet bikes.
Yeah, I think 3. Actually, you know what? I would do 6. I would do 3x2. I love those little skirmish units.
I'm probably going to try 3x3, but I might come to that conclusion as well that 2s are the way. We're going to see.
And then the second question from Rickard is, with data slates now occurring with more frequency, at what point is it appropriate to begin planning for a team's event when it's several months away?
The answer is prep for team events never ends, but it also never really starts. You just kind of are constantly talking about what you're going to be doing and playing games. You don't really care about what's coming for you until like 2 weeks before list sub, and then you go, okay, guys, we have to figure out what we're actually bringing here. You have these 2 factions, I have these factions, and we make a sheet and go, that works.
Yep. If you're trying to be like serious about it, then probably like 2 months before. Probably about right.
It's really hard, especially since I know Rickard's referring to preparing for either the Toronto Teams event in April or Canhammer Teams in May, when there's a good chance that we're going to get a slate in March.
Yep.
And
I know that we're not preparing for Toronto Teams right now.
Yeah, we're definitely talking about what we might be taking, but we're also talking about, maybe the guard codex might be out by then, hopefully, for the sake of the card players, because they will eventually go stir crazy having to play the index with that FOMO box out.
No.
And then Eldari will be out. Then you'll have, according to what did they preview on Friday or Thursday? It was like all of the cult books right after that.
I don't know.
And Chaos Knights maybe in the images.
That time.
Yeah, and there was a Salamander's picture, which makes me very concerned.
I just made sure that the boat that was bringing the codexes for the guard book to release normally got jammed in another strait, so it's not going to come until like July. Sorry, guys. I purposefully did that to all the guard players out there. You're stuck with the FOMO box forever.
Didn't that happen to AdMech, right? Or something?
No, it was
It was
the Death Guard Codex in 9th that had that delay.
Isn't that why they relocalized all their book production back to the UK or something like that?
I'm pretty sure they're still made in China. I'm pretty sure they're still printed in China. Let's find out.
Fair enough. All right. While Jeremy goes and does that, I'm going to go to the next question. Miltuz asks, what should I do with a multi-god demons army?
Keep playing it?
Yeah, that sounds fine.
Index detachment's super fun with an on-demand 6-inch charge.
I mean, Galaxy's good.
I mean, just you can keep doing, I think, what you were doing and just play big greater demons still, right?
Yeah. I mean, the go with a 4 at Feel No Pain is a crime.
It is.
And, like, you can just take, like, 6 big boys and just, get to it. Like, a couple Guos, Rodigus. You can take Shalaxi, take Keepers if you want. They don't have to be in Legion of Excess, man. Don't listen to their lies.
In fact, you should be ready for Legion of Excess to inevitably get nerfed at this point.
Yeah. And I think part of it is also based around that with the announcement of all those books, they also mentioned. Actually, I don't remember what they said. Yeah.
That's okay. We've got another question.
Yep.
We actually have a lot of questions.
Yeah, we do.
Us moving a little bit. All right. Logan has another question that is hidden inside of a statement. Jack, did you find scoring secondaries early on quite difficult given the relatively low unit/high unit cost? You were often quite far behind going into 4 and were having to pull off big plays to get the points needed in the tighter games.
So in those games, yes. But generally no. The secondary cards are, I'm sorry, hold on, give me 1 second. Stupid. I hate them. Generally, I can score secondary cards fine. Sometimes you just bring it down, assassinate turn 1. And that is not fun.
Yep. And then sometimes you draw containment and extend turn 1. And you gotta go to your opponent and go, I'm sorry.
Yeah, like in the Shadow round, my opponent, I mean, he did redraw cards more than me. He made a valid point there. But like he drew a 20 by turn 2 on cards.
That feels great.
I didn't like it. I did not like it. But I've done that to people for sure. No questions asked. Of course, I've drawn extend secure turn 1. Why not?
That's fun.
You know,
Yeah, why not?
Area denial. Let's go. I've done that. So like, sometimes it just happens to you. Yeah, you have to try and find a way to, you know, if the cards just say, hey, you're 15 points down, then you just have to win primary by 15. It's easy.
I mean, dead models don't score points.
100% right. And then, but in like, generally, I would be the one with the points lead early in most of my games. Those two, I just wasn't.
Yeah,
You know,
I mean, Chaos Cults is one of those armies that does front load and then just kind of disappear.
I also kind of like stopped scoring secondaries because I wanted to kill models harder.
It was funny. Some of the chat didn't catch that when you drew containment and secure, and you kind of mumbled unto yourself on the mic. I know which one of those I'm scoring.
It was almost neither of them.
Yep. Well,
Two pods that looked basically the same were next to each other, and I hit one, killed it, and then couldn't consolidate to an objective.
Yeah.
It was not fun.
But Joe was like, "What's he doing containment with the Vindicator?" I was like, "No, everything is shooting and charging this turn."
Oh yeah, no. The plan is he doesn't see turn 5, so we're just going to charge him. And like when I only scored a 2 on secure, I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. I don't know. That's whatever.
Yeah, 2 points is 2 points, and the other one's a CP. Let's go.
So he's
There you go.
all the models will be dead by the end. That's the game plan here.
If your opponent doesn't get a turn 5, you get all of the points.
I got 32 on primer in the last 2 turns.
There you go. See?
You know, who cares what I scored in the first 3? That doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, I was when,
Sometimes you.
and that's Purge for you. Like,
Yeah, Purge is stupid. Purge is also, by the way, the mission I would have chosen if I,
you had to play against that list 100% every time.
I had some of the early game scoring go a little sideways. Like I missed a kill turn 1, which is a little weird. And then, what was it? Oh, he got hold more off that as well because I just didn't kill his guys in the center. So like, okay, that probably could have been handled better on my end.
Yeah, mistakes happen.
Yeah.
All right. Next question.
Next question's from Ben F. What's Jack's opinion about using inheritors in teams?
I think they're pretty good. Legitimately, I think they're pretty good. I think they're good for a variety of reasons. One, I think they're weird, right? They're not what most people are used to, and you can get a ton of value for that. People don't know how to pair against it. People don't know what they need to play, like how they need to play into it, and by the time they figure it out, oops, it's too late. It's also
and with you having like 40 games on it, you have that prep to know how those pairings are going to go, or roughly.
And people, it's also a very easy army to like underestimate. Because if you look at it in the list, like the app or the list, yeah, it looks like a bunch of units. But if you look at it on the table, you're like, oh, there's really not that much here.
Yep.
And like, I should surely start pushing, right? Wrong. So it's very good in that case. It's also good because it's a very take all comers kind of list. And it's just kind of good into everything. And it's got good game into everything, which is great. So if you want to just smash people, you probably want to take Liberators. If your goal is to go out and get big scores consistently, and then occasionally not, you probably want to get Liberators. But I think if you want to have game into basically everything, and also be a weird monkey wrench that your opponent's not, accounting for, especially if you play the army a bunch and they've never seen Angelic Inheritors and need you to explain what the army does.
Yep. That kind of uniqueness always has a role, especially when it's on an army that is as strong as, well, you've demonstrated this weekend.
Yeah, it's really strong. I also think it's favored into Liberators straight up, because I think Marines trying to beat Sanguinary Guard in the Sanguinary combat is not particularly great, especially if you outshoot them, which you will.
Yeah.
All right. The next question is from Goran. We answered the first question and are going to go to the last question, which is for all those who went to LVO. What is your feeling about the meta and how it is shaping up?
It feels pretty good. Like the 6 games I played, I would say 4 of them I played against fairly skilled players, 2 of them against decent players. And there was never a point where I felt like I was going to run away against the really good players. And there wasn't a point where they kind of felt the same way. And it was into a whole bunch of different matchups. So, and from looking and talking to everyone else, and I mean, the numbers bear this out as well, it looks like a pretty good meta. Like, definitely Bridgehead, Legion of Excess, Star Shatter, Solar Spearhead, And then Ultramarines in general just need to be brought down a little bit. But
Yeah, I think it's pretty good. It's a pretty good meta.
there's always
Teleporting
improvement to be made.
always make me pucker up a little bit. But that is probably a case of what they do is unfair. What I do is super neat. So I don't want to read too much into that. Also, teleporting like T3 armies, it seems a little dumb, but that's again probably a case of when they do it, it's not cool. It's the meme of the person like hitting on the lady and then she calls HR. Like they got some guy and then the
It's
ugly
okay
guy.
when I do it. It's not okay when you do it.
Yeah, again, like my broken stuff is fine when I do it. It's fine, it's balanced, it's skill testing. When they do it, it's stupid and not skill testing and broken and unplay aroundable. So they should nerf it.
Then
Reasonable
on
take.
that note, the next question is from Evan. Since you guys are conditioned to play in 3 hours, do you get all twitchy when a game goes long? Will we ever get to the point where 40K can be used as a system of measurement for time? I.e., this trip to the DMV is going to take about 3 turns of Unending Swarm versus Green Tide.
Jesus.
No, it's never going to get to that point.
No, but I definitely do get twitchy when my opponent is taking an excessively long time to take their turn. It's why I pretty much always play on a clock, and I recommend everyone play on a clock, because at the very least you can look at it ticking down and go, no, I know we're going to be out of here in 3 hours, and I'm going to have time to play my turn.
Yeah, I'm very bad at playing on a clock. I should play on a clock more, but I really don't. And it hasn't burned me yet, so it probably never will.
I've been burned by it a couple times.
Yeah.
And it's also like you also, when you don't play on it, you're also just like, I think I play fast. Do I? You get that kind of in your head.
I played on a clock it's kind of weird because I usually finish games in 3 hours, but every time that I haven't, it's fucked up my life. So, I probably should just play on a clock.
Zato-san makes a good point in chat about saying chess clocks are great. I can waste time with a good conscience. It is true. I very much enjoy put the clock on me and just kind of sit there and just look at the board for a little while to figure out what the hell is going on.
Or just go to the bathroom, take a poop.
Oh, yeah, the tactical poop.
Yeah, you gotta. Like when nature calls, man, you're not saying no.
Yeah, or if you just need to step outside and get some fresh air because you're feeling a little stressed or anxious or something about the game.
Yeah, you're not worried that you're eating into their time over it, which is nice. Some armies, unfortunately, you do have to put on a clock. You have to.
Oh, you play Knights Custodians. We don't need a clock, they tell me, while they chew up most of the time themselves.
One of the slower players that I know plays Imperial Knights.
Wait, people last past turn 3 with Knights? I don't know how that works.
So against like any kind of horde army, you got to put them on a clock, and against T-Sons, you got to put them on a clock. Those bitches love to think. They love to think. Very on brand.
Most of our local horde players, I actually know I don't need to clock them because they will outplay me in speed. But if I don't know them and I haven't played against them before, clock goes down immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I did clock a bridge player by turn 3. That sounds about right.
I need to buy a chess clock. That's really my one main concern with it, but I just don't own one.
You just got to make an Art of War branded one. There you go.
Ooh, exciting.
All right. Pius has the next question, which is the most fun army for you guys to play regardless of strength? For me, it is definitely pure Harlequins. I enjoy playing that army a lot, and it is not good. Please don't do that.
Maybe it'll be good in a couple weeks.
Maybe. I kind of hope it will be, but it won't be.
Yeah.
Don't you mean differently colored aspect warriors?
Yes. They're aspect warriors with many little diamonds painted on them.
Alternately themed like guardians.
Yeah. They're just better guardians. They're better storm guardians is what they are, which makes me deeply depressed inside.
Yeah. Chainsaw Biceps, we ask you when you should start using a crest clock, relatively new still. The answer is as soon as you want to start playing in tournaments. I wouldn't really do it before then, but as soon as you're interested in attending tournaments, any kind of time where there's a time limit, I would start playing on a clock.
No,
in your practice games.
The reason I'm saying that is because it was my favorite joke when the Eldar book came out, that Harlequin players would be like, oh yeah, Harlequins are not that good. I'm like, what do you mean Harlequins? There are no Harlequins. There's troops. They're Eldar models. There's no Harlequins.
That's fair and reasonable and makes me sad anyways. All right, the next question is from Keaton Bean because there are so many questions. Any surprises for which factions did/didn't perform well at LVO? Each one pick one.
Pick one. Sorry, what?
Pick one that did well and one that didn't perform well.
I was surprised that Star Shatter didn't do as well as it did.
I wasn't. I called it.
I mean, having played into it a few times, I shouldn't have been surprised that it didn't do as well, but... And then...
Never mind. I'm skipping to the next question.
Ultramarine Vanguard did well, and I was not expecting that army to do well. But it never
plays
went,
the mission so well.
never went anywhere. It just teleports these stupid Centurions around and blows you up from.
Yeah, I mean, it turns out that Vanguard Centurions are still bullshit, especially with New Oath.
Yeah. Yeah, no kidding.
Really? +1 to wound, reroll with that many things that they can do.
Oh, with all their guns being twin linked too, please no.
Yes. Yeah,
Full
Orcs didn't do particularly well.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I kind of
I'm
expected
not surprised that
somebody
Guard
to
didn't crack the Shadow round because all the Guard players just eliminated each other in rounds 4, 5, and 6.
That's fair.
Cognitive
All right.
dissonance here, because on the one hand, I think it's awesome that Naz and Wesley had to play each other. On the other hand, I'm sad that Naz lost.
That's fair. Nas did look very sad in all of the pictures I saw of him.
Well, he looked the saddest in the picture where he lost Ignite's team trophy 30 seconds after grabbing it. He walks up on stage, grabs Team Ignite's team trophy, does a little oot oot with it, and probably I wasn't watching. And then comes down and walks down, and then has to go back up for another trophy. Comes back around because he stay winning. That's what that boy do. And then he comes back down with his second trophy. He's like, "Where'd it go?"
And the best ITC Ignite team trophy is just missing.
It's gone.
Amazing. I love it.
Naz flushed you down a toilet or something. Who knows?
I don't know.
But what I did,
He definitely traded it to somebody for something to drink or something while he was on his way back up.
I did take my trophy out of my case, hand it to Innes, and have Innes take a picture that's in your Discord of an empty case, being like, the Team Ignite trophy.
Amazing.
Well, Nat stands there like,
In reality, it was probably just some jealous American that the Brits cleaned up on all the awards.
Art of War has it currently on her shelf.
Fair. All right. The next question is from Isaac, which is, oh, for love of God. Something we saw highlighted at LVO this year was being on stream can be a huge amount of pressure and can lead to public. We're not really.
This is a good question. It kind of follows
This is
on
a
what I
good
said
question.
earlier.
I'm just finding the question, which is what can we do as a community to try and improve this and make sure that we are not surrounded by controversy for stream? It feels like if you want to avoid controversy in the current environment, you should just skip stream.
I have 3 things for stream. Some that we can, as the community, do, some that tournament organization can do, and some that players need to do. Number 1, if you are running a tournament and you have a stream table, you should have a judge at the table at all times. Because then, if something is missed by the judge, by both players, then it's done. Like, mistakes happen. People make accidental or intentional misplays. It's just how it's going to go. But if you have a judge at the table, the onus falls on them to find things. Number 2, you need to make sure that chat is aware of this. But also, more clearly, brief both of the players on what good stream etiquette means. Make sure that you're speaking clearly. Make sure that you're voicing your intent, which both of these things are things that you should be doing in a game anyways. But when you do it at a stream table, it makes things much more clear about what you're doing and much less likely that your actions are going to be taken out of context or that someone's going to insinuate something else.
Yep.
And the third one is, and this is something that I'm like 50-50 on, the community just needs to stop assuming bad intent.
I think really players being able to have that conversation be audible when they're talking about playing by intent is really important because it helps diffuse a lot of that.
Yep.
Because stream likes to think of themselves as the third player at a table, and they are not.
Yes.
And like you don't need 502 players at a table when chat is involved. It's just the 2 people, and if they can have a clear conversation that everybody can hear, they'll understand a little bit more about what's going on, and I think that's important at some point.
Yeah. And similarly, it's one of these things where there were 3 streams that were being run at the event this weekend. There was War Games Live, there was the official Games Workshop stream, and then there was Tabletop Live. Games Workshop almost always had a judge at the table. The other two sometimes did, sometimes didn't. During the final rounds, they did, but during the earlier stream rounds, they didn't necessarily. And sometimes it came down to the onus of, if chat starts to act up because they saw something, you had the streamer who could or couldn't or would call a judge to the table. It does put extra pressure when you're playing on stream, and by just having that judge at the table, watching constantly, being aware of the board state, what's going on, what's happened earlier in the game, you come things to a much more clean resolution should anything come up. But again, it comes back to we just need to stop assuming the worst about players at the table. And part of this is the community. Part of this is content creators liking to latch onto drama or things that kind of come up. We really need to just start assuming the best in our community, and at the same time, we need to make sure that we're punishing bad actors who are doing this on a consistent basis.
Yep. I think something else that people never really talk about is oh, go ahead, Jack.
Right. I've just seen a lot of people unable really to differentiate between like actual bad acting and just normal game stuff. Or unable to differentiate between stuff they don't know about. For example, the amount of people who complain about parallax is all the time on our streams too. People are they see a side shot and they see this tape measure stretched out. And they're like, wow, that was either too far or not enough. And so there's that. And then there's also, you just missed a conversation the players had. So you assume something is the way is one way that it is or it isn't.
Yep.
And then you just dive headfirst into it with 100% confidence. I've seen that plenty of times. But you can't account for crazy people. I will tell you that. They'll just do
no, but we can do our best as a community to make sure that their voice isn't the only one that's heard.
Yep. I also think it's good to recognize that being on stream is a lot of pressure for some people who don't play on it regularly, and it causes people to make more mistakes because suddenly they're under the gun. Which goes into the third question, which is as someone who has never been on stream, what should I do to try and make sure I have a good experience?
Remember that you're there to have fun with your opponent. I think the biggest thing for stream is it helps sometimes to just forget you're on stream and to be yourself. But just make sure that yourself is a good person and a decent human being when you play. Because if you're finding that you have to control yourself while you're playing on stream as opposed to not playing on stream, maybe you have something else to look at.
Yeah, I would say forgetting that the stream is there is generally pretty helpful. Or trying to just focus on the game and pretend it doesn't happen. Yeah. As you said, if you need to act differently on stream versus off, probably think about that a little. But
the number 4 from Isaac is, would you clock me, Jeremy? Because he misspelled your name, Jeremy. It's Jeremy.
Apparently I'm Jeremy now. Isaac, I would put a clock down against you just like I would any other opponent.
I would clock you, Isaac, every time, 100%. Jeff, Death Company Forklift, which is still my favorite. Now, you have to bear with me while I read the whole question. When will Jack Harpster address the allegations? He claims to be a Blood Angels fan, yet there is no evidence he has ever been afflicted with waking visions of his ancestors battling the traitors. I can see them now, my great-great-great-great-grandfather battling his treacherous brother at Gettysburg. When will you answer the allegations, Jack? When?
I think you just need to roll up your sleeve.
I see Horace all the time, man. You're looking a little horsey yourself.
And then the actual question is, moving on, how good are Virtus Praetors with Sabel launchers? Are they good enough that 9 doesn't torpedo a list?
We kind of talked about that earlier. I think 9 does, 6 won't, but...
I'm going to try 9 tomorrow. We're going to see how it goes.
There you go. Watch Art of War 40K tomorrow and watch Jack play 9 Virtus Praetors. It's mirrored, so you're going to have to point to the other side.
It's so weird. It's so I feel like, I'm all.
Oh, you're pointing to the Art of War Room VHX TV. All right.
Here.
Next question, because there are so many still. The world leaders, Goran, the world leaders have done very well this weekend, both attachments, in fact. Is that just an exception, or are the eaters positioned better in the new meta than everyone thought in the beginning? If so, why is that? I guess we talked a little bit about this, but why are they positioned well?
I think the biggest thing is that nothing really changed with them. They're still a solid melee army. They're still like, they've still got decent profiles, decent army rule, and those that play them often enough that they're able to get results with them.
Yep. They're also well positioned right now because like they're really good into things like Star Shatter, where
Yes.
they're insane into Star Shatter. They're also really good into like the vehicle heavy marine builds because they'll rip that apart really fast. Like they can be 20 inches away behind a wall, and all of a sudden, all your Vindicators and all your Ballistas are all dead.
Yep.
And then you have to deal with Angron and the homies with none of that. That's bad. So we'll see. Also, Calgar really doesn't like trying to charge Angron, for example, because -1 damage is a son of a gun. So they have to shoot Angron and then charge him. And if they don't have any vehicles that can do that, or that takes their entire turn, they're in rough shape either way.
Yep. World leaders also, I would imagine, generally don't care about Legion of Excess.
Yeah.
No, I don't. I do not imagine
that.
that.
Right through it.
Would you like to gambit against my 6 Exalted 8 bound?
Probably not. Jonathan 11 has a super chat. Thanks for the $5 super chat, Jonathan 11. What is the best GSC detachment for teams, and what role would it fill on a team?
Final Day as like a second drop, I would think.
Final Day as a like blunter, as a beat gun army on gun table is pretty decent. Biosanctic's a solid army, especially counter melee. It'll beat the crap out of melee. Host of Ascension is good if you want to be bridgehead, but also don't own any guard models, and aren't willing to proxy them, even though they're the same models. I swear to God. There a lot of them are good. You know, if you secretly hate your team, you can take the 50-50 guard one.
There you go.
Right? If you're like,
Take the
Yes, let's take guard away from my team at the same time as I'm doing this.
yeah, you take guard away, and then you also, by doing so, make your army worse. So it's just a race to the bottom between you and the agents player who's taking the Grotmas detachment.
There you go. I love that detachment, though. I don't care what anybody says. I just want 4 assassins to be good, but they aren't, and that's okay.
Maybe it is good. No one's played it.
I like watching Jack's face get more and more concerned about the words coming out of my mouth as they do.
Yeah, it's good. I spend my detachment rule and my enhancements to make my assassins worse.
It's
true.
more expensive.
Do you not like grenades on 3s, Jack?
I love
Do you not
grenades
like
on 3s. I don't love it for 140 points, Nathan.
I did, in fact, watch that single part of your stream, by the way.
Oh, it's so good. You still have to spend the CP for it, by the way, which I think I pointed out. You still have to spend the CP to grenade. It's not a free grenade or nothing. You just get it on 3s. That mortal wound is worth 40 points.
You
40
should just
points.
get it for free with the enhancement. Zero CP grenades that's on 3.
You should be able to Overwatch grenades for 40 points.
That's what I really want.
On a
That's
4-wound
cool
model
rule.
that disappears to the
I love
return
it.
grenade.
Can that be an Eldar character rule? Grenade Overwatch on 3s
No.
for 0
Hang on, hold
CP?
All right, let me take notes.
Nope. God damn it.
All right, Frank has the next question because I don't understand Logan's question, and hopefully somebody from who can see it will.
I'm assuming that was the fight that was this weekend or something.
Oh,
What is he saying?
What does he
Marab
think of the
decision?
Marab decision?
Oh, I love Marab.
okay.
Dude, I was rooting for him so hard. Oh, that fight was great.
That was the fight Saturday night?
That fight was pretty tight. Yeah, I watched it. I watched it the next day. That fight was probably the best. I mean, Yuri's fight was also pretty good, but Marab versus Umar was really, really good fight, and it came down right to the wire. So, I mean, spoiler alert, I guess. But
I don't know who won, so
I think spoiler alert. I think Marab got him pretty clean. I mean, like 3, 4, 5 were definitely Marab. 1 was pretty clearly Umar, and 2 I think could have gone either way. Maybe 1 or 2 are switched there. And then round 4 and 5, Umar was just like super tired, man. You could see it. It was not good.
All right. What did
Marab
Logan
is a cardio anomaly.
There you go.
He's insane. I've never like Lance Armstrong, nothing. Like
Jesus.
that dude who runs super marathons, nothing. That dude shot 50 takedowns against Jan. 50! Over 50, I think. Anyway.
Damn.
God, I love Marab. I don't know why. I liked him and I like Sterling, even though they got a lot of hate. But I think they're neat. I like watching them fight.
All right. The next question is from Frank. Solar Spearhead seems to be poised to be a strong X and 1 faction, converting no event wins despite a popular showing and stats to support that the army is at the very least good. What are the things holding back Solar from converting event wins?
I'm going to say right now, they need to start taking a fucking Warden brick with the enhancement and stop putting it on a Gladys or Achilles or Telemon.
And Warden Brick's pretty good.
Which enhancement is that?
The plus strength, attack, and damage.
Yeah,
there you go.
That's a good. I don't know. I think it's just a solid army, and a solid army can win an event, but doesn't have to.
And the reality is, like, they've been putting up solid numbers, and as we talk about many times on the show, there is an element of luck to winning a GT. Like,
I also don't think event wins are as important of a stats indicator as people think a lot of the time.
Yeah, that's why I like looking at like top fours and the like, because that gives you kind of an idea of, you know, they're in that band.
Yep, they're capable of winning events. They're just not quite
exactly
like
there. If you look at Solar Spearhead, you know, their overrep is a little bit below. It's like 0.7 for the first little bit of this meta, but 9% of their players are starting 4 now.
Yep. That's good.
That's 50% higher than the average.
That's so really good, guys.
That means that it's gonna happen sometime in the next couple weeks.
Yep.
And you know, make it be you, Frank.
I mean, it's gonna be the moment Folger goes to an event that's less than 200 players, he's like guaranteed to win.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he almost made it to Shadow this year.
Almost made it to Shadow. Well, anyone when you go to a big enough event is like nobody's favored to make top 8, right? It just kind of happens. Yep. Whereas smaller event, I'd be willing to bet on Folger on that in that case.
All right. Thank you, Jessica Nahiri, for the $5 super chat. I was going to get around to the new Eldar rules question. There's just a lot of questions today. What are your all's thoughts on the new Eldar army rules?
So today they previewed the army rule, which is the agile maneuvers mechanic.
Yep.
I'll be honest, 4 tokens. Do not read Warhammer community.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely less toxic than Fate Dice was, so I'm going to count that as a win. And I'm going to reserve judgment until we see everything else, because for all I know, they're going to find like 6 different ways of doing them for free, and I'm going to get very angry.
Yeah, context matters a lot. So I'll have to wait until then.
I also didn't like that they could just be like, no Overwatch for any unit. And I go,
I loved that so much.
I don't like that at all.
One token for no Overwatch? Amazing. 1 token to retreat into a transport if your opponent falls back from your army? That also seems pretty neat. Oh, there you go. There you go. It seems cool. We don't know anything else about it yet. Yeah. All right. Keaton B has some questions. As soon as I find it. All right. I'm captaining for a 5-man teams event for the first time in March. I've already told my players the biggest goal is to have fun and play armies that you want to over sacrificing enjoyment for a minor matrix improvement. Do you have any advice for a first-time captain? And how do you think we should approach a matrix, especially given data may be less reliable with less in-tune members?
Well, what I would say is that if you make your players play something that they don't enjoy, they will play worse, even if on paper that army is better.
100%.
That'll happen every single time. It doesn't matter. It's not like a their fault thing. It's a human nature thing. If they're playing an army they don't like, or they don't vibe with, or they're not enjoying or not having fun, it doesn't matter if it's slightly better on a matrix. It will. Honestly, it won't even just perform worse. It'll shit the bed, is like a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Like that's opening your team up to having some bad things happen if you do that. So number one is you give your players things that they vibe with and things that they love and things that they know. And then if there's a field of multiple armies that could be, then you go with the best one.
Yep. And then in terms of prep on that side, what I've recommended to newer teams or less experienced teams is just do a red, yellow, green matrix.
Yeah.
Have the players look at it and say, hey, what do you think about this matchup? Is it a red, is it a yellow, or a green? And then the only goal when you're doing pairings as a captain, if you know a little bit about pairings or if you think about it a bit, you just avoid those reds.
That's it.
You try to minimize those. And like when I ran my first team event, this was 5 years ago now. And I took a group of guys I was new to the tournament scene. I'd been to like 2 tournaments. These guys had never been to a tournament. We were like, let's sign up for Can-Hammer teams. This will be a fun time. And it was, because we went into it with the goal of winning 1 round and every player winning 1 game. And that's exactly what we did. Yeah, some people won more than 1 game, and I think we drew 1 round, but we lost 3 at least. And it went into it with the like perspective of we'll do some practice games, but really there was no like you have to play this. It was you think that's cool, all right, you're going to play that, and we're going to try to make it the best that we can within this meta, and we're just going to try to get you a win through it and get an idea of how team events can be and why they're so much fun. And focused more on the fact that we were hanging out together playing 40K and didn't have to worry about playing each other in the next round.
Games of 40K are volatile enough that unless you really know what you're doing, trying to call a matchup of 14 instead of a 12 is really not.
I can't even do that.
Good idea. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I could say it's a 12 to 14. I can't say it's a 12.
Well, I'm just going to try to get more than that, you know?
Yeah, exactly. My 12 is my floor.
But yeah, red, yellow, green is generally pretty good. Yellow is it's a game. Something's going to happen, but it's not going to be a big blowout either way. There's usually a 4th one that I like to put in there, which is a flip. Like it's just whoever goes first, right? Whoever goes first blows the other person out. So
the reason I tend to ignore that one is it depends on the level of players. Some people won't even be able to identify that.
All right, the next question is from Chris Polly. What would you think if they added the basic Lehman Russ battle tank or castigator to Imperial agents? So they at least have something competent for shooting purposes without adding knights.
I see what Jeremy's doing off screen. He's he's throwing up a big thumb.
Get out.
Thumbs up because he's a big fan of that idea.
I love the idea of a castigator being added to Imperial agents. That sounds awesome and amazing and incredible, and sounds like it would be terrifying if you could add it to any army other than Imperial agents.
There was already an argument that maybe the Immolator was a bit of a design mistake that hasn't come back around to bite them in the ass yet. Castigator and Imperial Guard battle tank would probably not be. The Guard tank, actually, weirdly enough, I think would be one of the ones that's least oppressive, just because it's 1 tank.
Actually,
right?
You know what they should have in the Agents Codex? They should have put Scions and Tauroxes there and not in the Guard book.
That'd be
not in the Guard book. That'd be cool.
Because they weren't Guard. If you think about it, back in the day.
But
weren't those Kasserkin though originally? Those were the Inquisitorial Stormtroopers. Were basically Kasserkin sculpts.
Scions, Kasserkin, all the same to me. I'm going to make a Guard player really mad at that one.
T3 meat.
T3 meat with slightly fancier armor than T-shirts.
I think you get rid of that problem, Jack, if they actually just take away the ability to ally the Inquisitorial, like Immolator and Inquisitorial Castigator outside of a pure Imperial Agents Codex, but they probably won't do that.
They probably won't do that.
Yeah.
Thinking on it, I do think the Guard tank would be a little bit stupid, largely because it's either nowhere, right? If it's inefficient, it would either be nowhere or it would be everywhere, and everyone would have 1 because it'd either be too efficient, and thus people would take the 1, or it would be bad. People wouldn't take it because you can't rely on synergy. It's not synergistic at all. Yeah. And likely it would be trash.
Like you're already starting to see the Immolator show up a lot in various Imperium lists.
Yeah, just for that. Maybe I take it in my Blood Angels.
Easy access to strip cover. We were talking about this earlier.
There you go.
It's what, 110, 115 points?
It's 230 because you need a unit to go in it. But then your home objective, think about it, and you get a trade resource.
Mm-hmm. There you go. All right. Grant asks a question that is complicated. How to Deathwatch now? Like somebody trying to fill out a Google search term, but deciding to put it in our question.
Just go look at Mark's list and take it, and then see what feels right and what feels wrong to you. You're going to run into one problem with Deathwatch real fast, and that's why the hell is every kill team exactly 10 models, and I can't flex them into 5s?
Well, you can flex them into 5-man Terminators.
Yeah, they're not a kill team though.
I mean they kill things,
but they're not a kill team.
Guys.
And they're a team, yeah. They're a team. There's no I in team, Jeremy.
They're a team that kills.
I do
so-
love the 3 cyclones.
What is that, by the way? What, like,
They've
What?
always been able to do it, and I don't know why.
because I don't know.
It's because they're all
One
special.
indicator to death. I was very upset.
Isn't that how Wolfguard Terminators used to be as well? You could pick each one with individualized equipment.
Yeah,
You
it was
can
something like that.
certainly-
It was similarly silly. I mean, Deathwing Terminators also had their really silly combo because you could do the Thunderhammer Storm Shield Cyclone rack.
Yeah. I know that currently you can Wolfguard Terminator with like all Chain Fist Storm Shield because you Power Fist Storm Shield. You can do them in weird.
I think you can go. I think you can also go Storm Shield if you wanted to.
That sounds fun. I love that.
Actually, no.
I
It
love-
was before they fixed it. You could go Stormbolt or Storm Shield, and you didn't have a melee weapon
Yeah. No, I'm
in
pretty
the index.
sure.
And then they realized that was a mistake and gave them the close combat weapon.
There you go.
Hey, you can take a Storm Shield Power Fist, a loadout that looks really weird.
Fair.
Yeah.
All right. John Johnson has the next question. I think we talked about this a little bit, but let's get a final decision. Which is the better Bloodless detachment, Lag or Inheritors? And who will be the first to win a GT with Bloodless Lost Brethren?
Jesus.
The better Bloodless version is Lag for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Inheritors doesn't.
Inheritors doesn't want any of that nonsense. It wants the Sanguinary, it wants Dante, it wants Sanguinary Guard, it wants all that. I would rather have that than +1 to wound, and it's not close. Because +1 to wound against the Oath target, this is a bit of a diatribe myself, but like, I think it's overrated. I think it's good. I think it's a good buff. I think it is overrated. I think it's been rated too highly. I think people look at it and are like, all right, I'm ditching every non-codex compliant unit out of my list. I'm getting rid of all of them. I have to have this buff. It's too good. And I think if there's anything you've seen is that, like, if you have good units, I think that's better than +1 to wound against the Oath target. And if you don't have better units, then don't take them.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
you're really going off on quite the limb just to not take Sangard or Death Company
yeah.
or Dante.
What, you get to kill the Oath target even harder? Okay. Okay. I'm not gonna say that's not like helpful, but it isn't as good. Like, yes, +1 to wound is good. It's on your whole army. It's on one target that you were already very good at killing already. So like, and if you're gonna spend the Lance lethal strat on it, or Lance +1 AP or another Lance lethal strat, depending on which detachment you're looking at, you're doubling up anyway, right? And you would have been using that either way. And you can just have better data sheets, right? Like if you just take a data sheet that is +1 to wound natively because it is higher strength, then that cancels that out just natively. And you're just a better data sheet now.
Yep. That makes sense. Grant says, did y'all hit up the Bacchanal buffet while in Vegas?
No, not this time.
No. We did
We
hit
did
up
that 3 years
this
ago.
dumpling place. That was,
That dumpling place was amazing. Yeah, we just basically took Ben's suggestions for places to eat off the strip, and it was beautiful.
worked
That's
perfect.
the true way to approach it because it's also cheaper. Gustavo says, no guard in the shadow at Elvio. How would you buff them?
You know what I would do, actually? I would make their army worse so that their players stop playing so badly because they think their army is bad, so they have to play better.
I prefer Jack's total spinning around of his microphone away from his face as the response. There's your response.
Someone's clearly never been shot at by a Scion unit while you're on an objective.
It sucks. It sucks.
Garan asks, will Skari nerf Drukari again, or is it time to nerf Skari?
You can't nerf Skari. We've made this very clear.
You've seen
His
this.
list title as LVO was Won't Stop Till the Bomber is 300.
So I don't know. It sounds like he's planning to stop.
Can
He'll
he
just
get
switch
the
back to
bomber to
Necron.
300 is the question?
He was close. Pretty close.
All right. Ivan asks, most embarrassing moment of LVO. Going to throw trash away with a mouthful of protein bar, then realizing Jack's standing right there, and all I do is wave and have a weird interaction. His face was priceless. There actually was no question mark in here. It's just that. But what is your most embarrassing moment of LVO?
Bye. That explains it.
Uh,
No, it's
I don't know. I'm pretty shameless these days. I don't know what would actually embarrass me.
I don't judge you on that. It's fine.
All right. Jason K asks.
Honestly, there's like way worse things. Yeah, Jason K asks, was the Star Shatter nerf too fast/hard, both given lack of data and relative strength to other top of meta armies? I actually think it was fine.
I think it's fine. You still have your army rule. You still have you still have your detachment rule, which is cracked. You still have the enhancements. The major change was okay. Now you actually plan it out in your command phase. So your positioning matters a little more. Hey, guess what? Iron Storm has to do the same thing, and I still take Master of Machine War because it's really good.
Yeah, I think it was deserved, not because of its power at the top end, but because of its power in the middle.
Yeah.
If you are a player who does not yet have down the skill of avoiding lines of sight and dealing with an overwhelmingly powerful shooting army, that army will table you very fast, and it will feel unfair, and it will suck. And so they should do something about that. Now, if you're at the point where you can deal with that, then it's not that great. It's just fine.
I dismantled a Star Shatter player, and I think it was round 2, and I was like, this really doesn't feel that strong.
Yeah,
but I was also looking at it and went, yeah, but if I had done this instead, and that Doomsday Arc is allowed to shoot my scary stuff, I lose very fast.
Yes. Yeah, it can feel unfair when it's shooting at you, and then you're like, oh, -1 to wound on the Silent King and -1 damage. How am I ever going to deal with it? Yeah, I mean, it can definitely take a big old poop on you, but like,
I definitely gave up 5 points at the end because I insisted on killing the king instead of my marked target.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, if the Silent King runs right down main at most good armies will just kill him still. It'll just be hard.
Yeah, it takes an extra activation or 2 more than it normally would, but
it'll be worth it, right? Like,
yeah,
sure, you worked
hard.
Because
it'll explode.
It paid off. Yeah, right.
I'm sad the Menhirs don't explode anymore.
I will say that, like, this game and the way that we look at stats sometimes, we tend to forget that you actually balance around the bulk of players, not just the top end of players. Because the bulk of players play in the middle, and that's where you should balance some of you should make decisions for the middle, not just for the top end sometimes.
For example, you should never nerf my Blood Angels.
Never, not even once. They should be fine all the way to the end.
They're beautiful. Lower their points, actually.
I say you should lower them all by 50%.
Yeah, I do think
so. Put them to legends.
Funny, but they're good now.
Yeah,
I just think that a better price for them would be 120. Your move, GW.
Eric Cultus Chan asks, "How do you feel about repulsor executioners?"
They're pretty good. They have a lot of guns. They have too many guns. Like, what are we doing here? They're pretty good.
They've got the Primaris number of guns, which is 2 more than you think they do.
Well, they have a repulsor array, which makes you think that they've consolidated all their stupid guns into one profile.
Like no, because they still have more, because they're optional on the build.
Bolter and a twin-linked Icarus, Iron Hail, Heavy Stubber, and then another Heavy Stubber that isn't twin-linked, so you have to roll it separately. And then they have like a rocket pod, and they have the laser, and then they have a chain cannon, and then they have the offensive array. And I think I actually got all of them.
That sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah.
That with +1 to wound is very funny.
It is.
Jeremy, did you get tricked into saying David Gaylord on Joe's stream?
No, but you just did.
Fair. Not on Joe's stream, but I get tricked into saying it all the fucking time, to be fair.
No, I read the super chat. I was like, no, that sounds really interesting, Cultus Chan. And then just let it go, because I knew exactly what he was doing.
Son of a bitch!
I like him. What's wrong with him? Why do we not like him? I love David.
No, we love him. It's just this is Eric's thing, and so he saw me on Joe's stream and tried to see if he could get me to say David Gaylord's name on that stream.
Week for 122 weeks.
What was that, Jeremy?
Yeah, this stream, not Joe's stream.
Oh.
Jack trying to do Eric a solid.
No, he said it. He said the forbidden word.
The forbidden. That's Voldemort for this channel is David Gaylord.
All right, clip me, Cultus Chan. I believe you.
All right. Idris has the last question, and I'm not doing any more questions after this. I don't care. How do Marines, Ultramarines, and BA play into Biosantic?
Shoot them to death.
Ultramarines, yeah, you just shoot them.
You shoot them.
Come back to life. You shoot those units.
Yeah, they only get so many that come back now, and they have to choose when they die now. So,
but that's not to say it's easy. It's
no, it's mind their threat range, make sure that your screens are in a good position, make sure they don't bad touch anything that you can't afford to lose. But they will have more resources than you, so you have to sometimes be ready to kill 2 or 3 units with a single activation.
Sure. All right. And then, Jeremy, well, first, Jack, thank you for being on. Do you want to plug your things while I pull up something?
Yes, the Art of War is me and some homies doing some 40K at you, and we try to do our best to explain what we're doing and how to also become better at the game that we all love. And we have a global community in our Discord. It's the Art of War at thewarroom.vhx.tv. There's a free 3-day trial if you check that out. You can hop in, you can get a load of our Discord community, you can watch all of the videos on your favorite faction, you can watch all of our stream games about whatever faction you want. Is it Agents? We got an Agents game. 1. It's what you're getting. I'm sorry. Actually, we have 2. Sorry, I lied. But if you want other armies, you will get significantly more games. And then also tactics videos and masterclasses and all that, all shoveled right into your open mouth. Okay? It's just, boom, it's shoved it right in there. All right, all that knowledge, and we do our best. We got entertaining games. We try. So
yeah. No joke, and I'm not just saying this because Jack and John and all them are good friends, but go check out the Art of War. They do really, really good content, and they cover so many bases that we would never be able to cover on our own. And plus, they use our stats all the time when they're talking about stats. So shout out to them.
So it's thewarroom.vhx.tv. It's right up there, and please check it out. We've done content on literally every single Grotmas detachment, Grotmas, anything you want. So you can go...
Even Hearthband?
Sorry. We do content on every single real detachment that exists. No, I actually think we did do Hearthband.
You probably did, and it was just very sad.
Actually. It wasn't... That's not my wheelhouse, obviously, but I believe we did. So please check that out. And there's a free 3-day trial, etc., etc.
Yeah, you can also always natter at Jack if you join our Discord community because he's in it periodically.
Yes, but I won't respond nearly as often as if you join the Art of War.
True.
The Discord is the Art of War.
Actually true. That's also fair and reasonable.
It is true. We have some pretty cool people here. They have some pretty cool people there.
Some of them overlap in both places.
We've got some overlap because we've got just a cool community between the two groups. But yeah, wrapping us out, I'm going to do the plugs somewhat properly now. If you've been listening to us for the last 2 hours and 22 minutes, we thank you very much for being with us. If you want to support the show, support the work that we do, particularly all of the stats work, the metadata dashboard, and everything else in there, then go check us out on patreon.com/statcheck. You can also just become a YouTube member if you want. Both of them give you the same benefits. The basic tier gives you access to our Discord, gets you access to our Vibe Check TTS League that we run about 4 of a year. We just wrapped up the last one at the tail end. John Winter Russell took that one with, I believe, Bridgehead at the very end. And then we believe our next one is going to be a Teams one that we're going to kick off in a little while. So check that out. We offer coaching. We offer merch. We have a whole bunch of really awesome partners in the Red Dragon, in Saltar Games, in J15 Games, and in Wayland Yutani. Check them all out. Their links are down below. We have discount codes for anyone who wants to check them out. And just be good to each other. Have yourselves a good week.
No, we have to do the last thing.
Yeah, you say goodbye after that.
The Cult of the High Five call-outs, which some people threatened to update today. So we'll see if some people did update them. So if you join our highest Patreon tier of the Crisp High Five one, you get a thank you at the end of every episode that you get to customize and put into a Google spreadsheet, and then I read it. And sometimes I'll make fun of you if you don't update it often enough, because I also will do that. It is frequently dangerous, and sometimes Jeremy has to rush in and edit them as I read them. But we're not going to do that today. We're just going to read them off the cuff. All right. Thank you to Christopher. The Midwest was originally known as the Northwestern Territories, but the region was split into the Northwest and the Middle West. The term Midwest has been used since the late 19th century. Irvine. Please change that, Chris. That's a lot of words, and I don't like it. Thank you, Willow Weeks. Thank you, Dan F. Thank you, Luke, Dan F. McCarthy. Thank you, David. See you all at LVO Clark. Hopefully people saw you and said hello. Thank you, Ayer. I'm not saying that anymore. You have to update it. Thank you, James H. Thank you, Colton. Dan F. Miller. Thank you, Fungus. Thank you, John V8 Gang. Are nights actually good? Are we gaslighting ourselves that we can have true line of sight over our opponents again? Stomp, stomp. All in caps. Thank you, Cam, F. Dan Morton, Hog Emoji, Hog Emoji. Thank you, Archon, 1 week closer to Fuegan with Battle Focus and Assault. Rahal. Thank you to Josiah Gattle. Thank you to Tank, Commander Frankie. Thank you to Isaac. I know your rules better than you do, Scary. Now stand back while I charge my favorite captain unit into your Court of the Archon and easily win this game and then LVO Tirada. Thank you to whomever stole Nas's Team Ignite trophy. It was probably Innis. Thank you to Thomas. I once nearly scored max assassination in 9th by having my Warhound explode in an Eldari army of Recoision. Thank you to Jack. Shattered my stars, but not my spider. Thank you to There's No Way Battle Focus Could Be Problematic. Thank you to Tom. I just learned how to join the list. Thank you to, well, since there is a special guest, I have a very special question to ask Jack. Should super heavy walkers have true line of sight at all times? Trick question. The answer is already known. Yes, they should. And then thank you.
It's just a
go for it.
It's not a question. So, but obviously the answer is, of course, we should just ruin the game.
Of course. We should do this right at the end of 10th. Just give everybody back their original rules from the start of 10th.
Everyone loved getting shot by the Wraith Knight, right? It's just like that. You just bang, you know? It only hurts once.
True. And then thank you to Thanks for all the stats. You're welcome. Thanks for all the stats. On that note, thank you everyone for sticking it out through the end of this nonsense. Thank you to Jack for being on. Thank you to Jeremy for being a co-host for 120 some odd episodes of this for stat check purposes.
Thank you guys for having me on. This is always a blast.
We should get you on more often, Jack. It's a ton.
We'll have you on again.
We said that 2 years ago.
I know I did, and then we were horrible about it, but we're always horrible at bringing guests back.
Well, you know, anytime you reach out, you have my number.
It's true, dude.
Oh, there you go.
I have your number now that I haven't gotten to your phone.
Ooh.
7813 or whatever.
An area code that has to do with Canada, perhaps. I don't know. Everybody have a wonderful evening and a wonderful week. If you have any tournaments this weekend, good luck. But lose to Jack in the finals. Bye-bye.